All right, so we got it. We're alive. We have Jimmy Love in the building. Super P is in the building. Hey, we're going to
Yes,
talk
sir.
about Germany today. And our guest here grew up in the United States, born and raised in the United States. I met him from traveling for the company I work for. I've been traveling overseas for some 25 years or so. I met this brother back in the early 2000s. We've been friends ever since. I thought it'd be great to share his experiences living over in Germany for like 25 years plus. And so we're going to talk to him. We're going to learn everything about Germany, not only about just living there, dating there, doing business there, everything. He's going to bring it. So let's start the show. All right, another beautiful morning in sunny Seattle. Can you believe it? Jimmy, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. How
All
you doing?
right, right. We got audio. Patrick, are you there?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, we're good. Last week we tried to bring Jimmy Love on. We had crazy technical difficulties. Patrick was out of town, so I was going to do the interview by myself. And I guess the internet gods did not want us to interview Jimmy without you, Patrick. So now we have Jimmy on, and it's time to go through living in Germany and doing business in Germany and what it's like being over there. A lot of people are curious and interested in living overseas. We have people who their children join the military, and once their children join the military, they may decide to stay over in a foreign country that they're stationed at. A la my friend Jeff Robinson from high school, basketball player. He was in the military in the army, and once he got out of the military, he stayed over in Berlin, Germany. And then I know others over in Germany. So when I go to Germany, this is one of the guys that I kick it with.
I can
This
see
is
that.
my brother here, Mr. Jimmy Love. Jimmy, won't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself before we, start getting into things. How we met, how long we've been together, and all of that.
Wow. We met through a colleague who was another urban type person who was trying to do something good, something positive. Harry O, trying to do something positive, and just kind of connected. You and I, and they say that lost souls find each other. So this is my brother from another mother. It was just nice to meet you over here. I'm over here doing what I do, running around with these groups, producing some, doing background for some others, just doing what I do. And then I meet my brother from another mother. So God don't play games.
Yeah, and Jimmy's pretty accomplished. He is on the Big FM national radio show there as a, I don't know, you call it disc jockey or whatever. He's fluent in German, sorry. So those people who are hitting him in German, I just saw another German flash. Jimmy, what is that? Do you see that?
Yeah, I wrote that. Ah, so sehr gut, danke Ihnen. Ah, so that's yeah. She wrote me back in German. I wrote Alles klar wie geht's because my channel is called The Noise. Alles klar wie geht's, and she hit me back in the German thing.
Okay. Yeah, I
Yes.
can't read German,
Uh,
but certainly Miss Jan speaks German, which I did not know. But yeah, speaks fluent German, musician, so and just author of 5 different books. So a very accomplished guy, and so it should be really interesting getting some insights from living over there for such a long period of time as a civilian. And so, yeah, I'm really excited. Patrick, our accountant in Los Angeles, I haven't even welcomed you. I haven't seen my brother in a minute. Hey, good morning, Patrick.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
I'm good, good, good. So, Patrick, are you as excited as I am?
Yeah. I'm very curious about learning what life is like in Germany because I would like to make another trip to Europe. It's been a while since I've traveled there,
Yeah.
so it'll be great to get some insight from someone who actually lives there.
hey, Patrick, I hope I can do you proud, bro.
All right. Well,
I'm
we're
sure
gonna
you
ask
will.
some a lot of questions, and we already got Da down in Las Vegas, Nevada, saying, "Can he get a job in Germany?" And Miss Jam said a shout out. We got Catholic TV. Good morning, fellas. Looking forward to hearing some good wisdom in the building. My man John Marshall Jones, JJ, running Catholic TV, is in the building. So, all right, Jimmy. Without further ado, let's just start getting into things. Let's get into some of your general background. Okay, let's tell us about yourself and how long you've been in Germany, and how did you first go there?
Okay. Um, Born in Columbus, raised in Queens, New York. Uh, uh, my mother stressed academics, so I tried to learn. I wound up winning a scholarship. It's called a Better Chance Scholarship. I won a scholarship to like Yale and Harvard, but we lived in such a distressed area that I didn't go. I didn't take that. Um, I don't know if I ever regret it, but I didn't take it. So I wound up being raised in the hood, but I kept that propensity for other languages. I kept that thirst for knowledge. I always wanted to be bigger than the sum of my parts. And when to get in those places, it's kind of hard to get out. So you just have to envision yourself in another place and strive to get out of those places. And then one of the things, academically, it moved me forward. And then I found music because academics and music are similar in that they're both wavelengths and they're both capacities in themselves. And music brought me over here. I came over here with the group playing drums. And since I was the idiot that practiced in front of the mirror doing Michael Jackson moves and doing Prince moves. I mean, you've seen me on stage. So doing the Michael Jackson moves and people saying, that never work out for anything because you're not those guys. But those are the movements that helped me to be a better performer when I got to the place where I could do it over here in front of this audience. So I wound up being over here. I met people who were over here doing great things like LaBouche and opening for groups like Boys to Men and all of these people, and being in this environment over here, this kind of closed environment, as big as Texas or as small as Texas, whichever way you want to put it. So I ran across a lot of different people, magnified my opportunities, and connected with the people to whom I needed to connect, and then wound up going on tour with these people and put roots down here.
Okay. All right. So, what made you just initially stay there?
Opportunity. There was plenty of opportunity. I saw it. There's something about being a big fish in a small pond. If when there are opportunities for production, I came over here during the boom of urban music. I'm an urban music producer and songwriter. So one of the first things I did was got with a German producer and began to do and apply that craft and take it from a business standpoint because it's not music, it's the music business. So I created a business connection for myself, doing production and things like that, things of that nature. And that's how I kind of did it. Got with these people.
So now give us more insight on your background, Jimmy. Where are you from? Give me more insight on, how you grew up in the U.S., exactly where you're from in the U.S., your hood and everything. Can you give us a little more background on yourself?
Okay. All right. Imagine Compton on steroids. That's where that's where I lived in Columbus, Ohio. That's where we were born. It was a place. I don't even want to say the name because I don't want to disrespect anything. The place is gone now, but you couldn't walk through there unless you knew someone. We moved from there when I was 3 or 4 years old. I still remember having lived there and moved to New York City, to Queens, in Hollis, Queens, and we lived above a fish market on 200-12 Hollis Avenue. I went to PS 134, learned how to, they stress, and Patrick will tell you, New York City, they stress academics. They stress academics. You should speak correctly. You should know how to read and write and count.
Yes, they do.
Say again?
Yes, they do.
Yeah, so we stress academics. So coming from Columbus to, even though it hadn't been school yet, it was really pushing things forward. But we were not in the best of the neighborhoods also in NYC. As a matter of fact, my stepdad used to come home talking about things he was doing in the city in New York, and he would mention a name like Frank and Bumby, and this. When you watch the movies, you know these names. But as a kid, these were the names that I heard in my household. Yeah, I'm getting ready to do something for Bumpy at Idlewild Airport, or I'm getting ready to do something for Frank. So these were the kind of environments that I come from. But I had to find a way to be in it, but not of it, because it was not the best situation. So I had to find a way to be in that situation, but not become a product of that situation. So I attended the libraries as much as I could. I went to library. Tried to figure out what the language, when the politicians were speaking on TV, I wrote down the words that I didn't understand, and I tried to figure out what it was. So it helped me to want to become a better speaker, which I did wind up becoming an orator and a grassroots politician in Columbus, Ohio. We were doing housing and training for people and just moving people forward. So if you want to know that background, it's just me raging against the machine, or trying to figure the machine out. And then once I figured out what I needed to overcome, figuring out how to overcome those boundaries so that I could move on to the next level and continually moving forward. That's what I say to you. Hey, Jimmy, how you doing? Moving forward. It's not just a speech. It's a way of life. Continually moving forward. Whatever that opportunity, next opportunity is, take that one.
So, Jimmy,
Yes, sir.
what gave you the courage to move overseas? And, relatively, how young were you? And where did that courage come from?
A trust that I could adapt. People think that intelligence is having learned book smarts and going to college, and which is great because I did attend college. I do have a small degree, but the point is, intelligence is the ability to adapt. Natural intelligence is knowing what to do, when to do it. So it was my belief that I could adapt to a different situation, and my understanding and doing a little bit of research on that situation, this place over here, and figuring out what I had to do, what I needed to do to make life better for me. I had to figure it out. So when I got here, I just had to. But I sold a set of drums that cost $3,500 for a $700 ticket. Upon my arrival here, I had $53 in my pocket. I slept on the floor of a recording studio for 3.5 months until I sold my first song, and then I got a few $40,000 for that. But I trusted myself. I had to believe that wherever I am is better than where I could be.
Wow, that's yeah, that's kind of what it takes. That's kind of what it takes to make those type of moves and have that type of courage. So, give me some insights on why Germany and not other places. I'm sure you had other opportunities to move to other places, but why Germany versus other overseas places? Because you have traveled a lot.
Yeah, sure. Uh, Alliances. In Germany, I had the alliances. I came here with a gospel group, the Golden Gospel Singers, the number one gospel group in all of Europe. The number one. He was a Bob Singleton from he was from North Carolina, but he grew up in Brooklyn, and he did Mama I Want to Sing, but he put together a gospel organization and he brought it over here, and it wound up being a compact gospel gala, and he needed people who were entertaining and who had that je ne sais quoi, that little bling, that extra it that could captivate that audience. And that's what I did. And then having worked with several people here, I mean, these people, he was on the level of, let's say, an usher in the States. Every place we went to was sold out. We went to not Barcelona, we were in Portugal, Lisbon, and we went into a house in Lisbon with this gospel group. Janet Jackson was there a week before. We sold out more than Janet Jackson in Lisbon. That's how this group was. So the people who were here were connected here in Germany. So I wound up working with some of those people and putting down roots and doing creating alliances, and wound up working with a lot of those people here. So it was a network here that I recognized. Even though I was in Spain and I was in Italy, it was the network here that really got me moving forward.
Okay. I had a quick question because we're gonna go into dating in Germany and living
Oh,
there and all of
oh,
that other stuff in a moment. I
yeah.
know, I know. I have a few single brothers in the chat too. I have married people in the chat as well, but and single women as well. But we'll talk the dating life in a moment and get into some details and stuff there. But I did have a quick question that I did not have down. And what is considered rude in Germany? And how do you say hello? I think I know how to say hello. I think it's Dinkischer or something like that.
That's thank you. Uh, Hello is oh,
Oh,
B Gates. How goes? B Gates. Um, Guten Tag. Alles klar. Is everything okay? So there are several ways, just like we say yo or what's up or hey, how you doing? Just a lot of different ways of saying it.
okay. And what is considered rude in Germany? We're gonna go into all of this stuff. This just wasn't one
The
of the
middle
questions.
finger, man. The middle finger. You can. They will charge you for putting up your middle finger. That's
Oh,
the
the middle
rudest thing.
finger is a big offense over there, huh?
It is a huge offense over here. And I did this to a girl, which means for us, it means what?
Okay,
Okay,
okay.
okay. For them, that's a sign for fellatio or something other
Oh,
derogatory.
Mm.
So,
ooh.
I did that to a woman. She said, "Hey, something," and I said, "Okay," and she said, "Ah, hey, how dare you? How dare you do that?"
Uh,
Really? Okay. Well, now.
yeah,
Okay.
okay. All right, all right. Yeah, we're gonna talk sisters too, Miss Jams. Was we have all genders here about living over in Germany. It's not just men. So yeah, we'll get into that in a little bit. Patrick, bear with me here. Be patient here, Patrick. You're still with me, right?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, when we get to the business section, more of the business section, I'm going to bring Patrick in. But I really want to start going into. I have a few guys here that follow the show. We have parents who have children that are considering the military, and so for me, it's important that kids, younger adults who may consider living in Germany, going over to Germany, like my friend Jeff, who stayed over in Germany, they understand the dating and marriage and relationships in Germany. I've been going over to Germany since around 2002, 1 ish. That's when we met way back in the day. Jimmy was actually performing at a nightclub singing. Litfest, for those who know Stuttgart, Litfest. Jimmy was the lead singer with his band. And afterwards, me just being by myself as an international businessman, working for the company I work for, every brother that's from the United States and I'm out by myself, I speak. I just say, hello, what's up? And, are you in the military? No, I work for a company. I just thought you're a good singer. What's up? I'm from Seattle. And so we strike up a conversation. That's how I meet people overseas. I know people kind of a lot of different places. And we've been friends ever since. When I'm not there for business or my trip get extended, I stay at Jimmy's apartment. I sleep there. So we've just been boys for a long, long time. But with all of that said, let's get back to dating. Let's talk dating. Let's talk relationships. Let's talk women and men. Because we have Miss Jams who follow us. So can't just be about the men. But there's this rumors. There's a reputation that the women love the American guys, and they even have an affinity for the urban guys there from the United States of America. So before we get really, really, really deep, because I have my experiences over there, what are Germans' views, just overall German views on marriage? And are there any differences between the way German view marriages versus the United States?
I think that's an individual viewpoint. Everyone has their own idea of what good is. For me, it's not finding the best partner. It's being the best partner, and then those things will work themselves out. But they stress marriage because marriage was a business contract, and that's the way they join families. Because it's not like in Texas or in Ohio where you have a city and then suburbs around that city. It's village, space, village, space, village. So those villages were kind of formed through marriages. So the marriage was a contract. So even if people didn't love each other, the marriage was kind of a bonding contract that would bound those families together and bind those fortunes together, which was, the trickle down from the royalty or the regimes that kind of ran everything. They did that, so the people here learned how to do that. So it's stressed, different from America. Wow, not necessarily. It's viewed as thanks for the likes. It's viewed as it's viewed as more of a commodity than it is the relationship of those individuals. It's more the binding of fortunes and all of those kind of things.
Very interesting. Still today, it's like that?
Pretty much it's like that today.
Wow,
there are
that's
people,
insightful. Did you know that, Patrick?
No, not at all.
Go ahead. Go
There are
ahead,
people
please.
who don't want their families to marry other people. There were women who were literally in love with someone like me. I won't say me, but they weren't allowed to even experience what our relationship would turn into because uh, because of a lineage thing.
So if let's say if my son joins the military or meets an exchange student, a German woman, and we'll get into the German because most people think Germans are just blonde hair and blue eyes. So we'll get into that. No, don't ruin that question yet because you'll be surprised if you actually go there. But if my son were to join the military, get stationed in Stuttgart, the biggest army base in all of Europe, the headquarters of the European Command, and he meets a German woman, she may be getting with him just because of his wealth and not just love. I have to be concerned about a business aspect versus the American love thing.
I, Again, that depends on the person. There are some women who did that because imagine when someone from France goes to America and they're speaking English and they're speaking with that accent, there seems to be a certain um, oh, Tasha, my German, English. There seems to be a certain level of success attached to being able to fly abroad. So when someone comes from here to there, then they are seen as someone who is prosperous. When these people come from America and they're here, it's especially with the military that seem as benefits. It seems so. Yes, there are some women who will do that, but that's not necessarily German women. There are a lot of different women from a lot of different cultures do many different things for many different reasons.
Yeah, but I mean you're describing a gold digger. That can be anywhere, but to me, from what I'm hearing, it sounds more prevalent from a business mindset when it comes to Germany.
Again, it depends on the players. That depends on who you're talking about. I don't want to seem biased because I'm not, uh, but it's just that that wedding thing. Some of it, of course, is for love. It is based on the relationship, but the relationship also then takes on a character of how are we building within this relationship? How are we building together? Uh, Pretty much, because if you have an opportunity, then of course you want to seize the opportunity.
And what about on a female to a German man? Let's say, you know, a female here in the U.S. a military. My daughter joins the military, and she's over there, and she decide, forget these brothers. These brothers are not available. I will marry a German man. She will face the same mindset.
I don't know. It's again, it's. I know that culturally, that's where the wedding comes from, especially in
Okay.
Europe. Culturally, you're talking about the Saxons. You want to go back to the Saxons. You
Yeah.
want to go back to the Visigoths. So you want to talk about people who were kind of conquerors, but who feuded within themselves. So culturally, they had to create alliances, and that's what a lot of these weddings did. Especially in Europe, these weddings created alliances and built certain sanctions protecting them. Instead of now these 50 people in my family, now suddenly we are a family of 150. So all of those alliances come from that history of the Saxons and the Visigoths, and throughout time, and them being kind of a warring nation, and not being able to get along with each other. That happened in America also, but that's more prevalent here. So that's where that wedding thing came from. But now, of course, a lot of the young people marry for love.
Wow, Super, you got any relationship type questions? Dating?
Yeah.
Because I've
So,
been dominating the questions for a bit here. I have some additional ones, but go ahead, please.
yeah. So, um, I guess what would some of the more common places for people here in the United States when we go to Germany? Where would we meet German women? What kind of place would it be? Like grocery stores? Would it be like restaurants? Would it be churches? Um, you know what I'm saying?
I think you just read my list. Uh, yeah, there are some in. It depends on your personality. Uh, your it depends on the individual's personality and that individual's trust in his or herself that they are able to transcend the obvious um, language barrier with kinesics, with this body language, trying to figure out how to convey the message. So we're talking about libraries, we're talking about clubs. Depends on what kind of woman you're looking for. Of course, you're going to find a more demure woman in a library, but that could also be a surprise waiting to happen. The grocery store, but that then is kind of rare. But it depends on the grocery store. Shopping in a mall or something like that, where people are sitting down and enjoying themselves, because they do have malls here now. You're sitting and you're enjoying yourself. But it's been primarily the bars, the restaurants, and the clubs where people are expecting to meet that, and then that's also music driven. What's the mood like in these places? So
Is
it
it
depends on the.
is it considered rude walking up to someone in a grocery store or library over there?
It depends on what your uh, it depends on your topic, how you approach your delivery. Is it harsh? Is it kind? Are you going to say something that is germane to you, something that you know about, or or is it something that they know about? I, for me, as an entertainer, I always made sure I knew lines or at least one or two sentences from whatever land. When we went to India, I learned a few words so that I could speak to them in their language. In Italia, I spoke a couple of words. So if you approach them kindly, uh, again,
Yeah,
it
it just
depends on.
sounds like anywhere. To be honest, it's no different than anywhere else.
It's just that it's our comfort level, or the uncomfortableness that we
Yeah,
have with the language barrier, which is the cure for that is to learn a few of the words.
yeah.
Shotzi.
It's going to be a different energy walking up to someone in a library or a grocery store versus when you're in a nightclub to party and have fun and you have alcohol involved, right?
But it's the question that you would ask in the library. What is your intent? Are you really trying to find something, or are you trying to find something?
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's your intent, and people are not so oblivious that they can't see the intent coming. Also,
Yeah, gotcha. Patrick, you're single. Continue, please.
Yeah. So, and what would you say the dating scene would be like during, I guess, major cultural events such as Oktoberfest? If you have that, I'm sure you have that in Stuttgart because I know that they have it in Munich.
uh, say the beginning of the question again, sir.
Yeah. So, what would it be like? I guess meeting somebody at a major cultural
Okay.
event, um,
Okay.
such as Oktoberfest,
All right.
in I'm sure you have that in Stuttgart, and because I know
Absolutely.
it exists in Munich.
Yeah, sure. They have it. It's called Spring Fest, the Früh Fest, or some of those events. But it is your understanding of what the event brings and not to create a faux pas in those settings. When you're in those settings, uh, I can't bring my hip hop demeanor to an Oktoberfest. There might be a club that might play hip hop music, and I can bring that demeanor. So it's the meeting, understanding the people and the things that you would say. Okay, like for instance, you wouldn't go up north to an NAACP rally and shout out, "The South will rise again." You wouldn't do that, but
Hmm. Of
you
course
wouldn't
not.
do that. So that would be akin to going to an Oktoberfest and not knowing what the shout is. You know what. So you have to listen to what that shout is, or what these people are saying. If it's something that reoccurs, then you're able to say that thing too, and it kind of blends you in. And then what happens is that that's kind of your calling card to get in the door, like noch eine Flasche Bier or something like that, or the Bier is perfect, or the etwas mit Bier zu tun, something to do with beer, Germanish, sorry. It's 6 o'clock. Something to do with beer, and then you are already inside the door. Then the conversation can begin because they understand that you are not a cultural crasher, but you are kind of a cultural attaché, that you're bringing your culture and mingling it with them and not imposing your culture on their culture.
Got it.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yes. No, I understand.
Eh,
So
let
I
me.
think it's just
Go
a
ahead. Go ahead,
matter of.
Soup. Go ahead,
I think
Patrick.
it's just about just picking up the vibe and just kind of flowing with it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Hey, Patrick. Let me go deeper now. We're gonna go a little deeper. Patrick, you're single. Let's go deeper.
Hmm.
Okay, Jimmy. Germany has one heck of a reputation. A, a reputation about the brothers, about the urban, about. So tell me what are the women like really in Germany from your perspective being there? And what are your thoughts overall for you dating in Germany and being there as long as you have been there?
You know, the things I chase don't have legs. I allow myself to be caught by those things, but the things that I chase don't have legs. They normally have, far-reaching. I chase goals. I chase, those things. So what happened is that the music. Let me go back further. In 1920s, the way that Hitler galvanized his people was the same way, by using this new invention that was galvanizing people in the USA, called the radio. And so the music then became a conduit for his concept and his ideas. And people began to understand his passion and his flow, because a lot of things that he was saying was on this radio station. Kurt Vonnegut did Mother Night, which was pretty much basically the same thing, that they used the radio to galvanize these people. What happened was that urban music came on the radio here with people like Heatwave, who started out in Mannheim in Germany, and Stuttgart, and people attached themselves to that thing. They attached themselves to the music, and the music then conveyed the culture, that urban culture, to these people, and the kids were into the music, because I know there were a couple of places that I went to where if you didn't see, you couldn't tell who was dancing. They danced like that. I'm talking bouncing, dipping, everything, and they knew that urban music better than we did. So when they connected with the music, they connected with MTV, they connected with those people, and that's what did it. It kind of had these people, these women going crazy, because it was the idea of being with someone from whom this great music, this great culture comes. You saw women over here with pants sagging. They had their hair in braids. They were, yeah, yo, 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 and all of this. It changed the culture so much that the culture had to be taken from that music. That music is not so prevalent here now because the culture took over the land, and that's why a lot of those women were with the one sought those guys.
All right, Jimmy. All right, Jimmy. So, yeah, I hear you, Jimmy. I've been knowing you for 25 years, Jimmy. All right, I heard all of that, Jimmy. So, look, Jimmy, can we really talk? Let me go a different way. Is there interracial dating in Germany?
Big time.
Okay. All right.
It's easy. It's easy if you are just yourself and you're confident in who you are. It doesn't matter what you look like. What matters is who you present yourself as. Who are you really? And does that translate into security that one has from oneself?
All right, Jimmy, let me ask you another question before you start talking about, you know, all these kind of stuff, things. Is interracial dating easy or prevalent in Germany?
It really is. It just depends on your presentation. How confident are you in your abilities?
What if your
The,
presentation is not as good, but you are that urban guy coming in looking like that guy they see on, that urban influence, that urban music influence, and your presentation is that way? What's your experience there in the nightclub, nightlife?
I I was with the biggest groups over here. So when I got here, I got treated pretty much like a star, royalty, VIP this, VIP that. Everybody knew who it was. And then I was singing the music these people were hearing on the radio. So, you know, it wasn't that
Let's talk.
difficult.
Let's talk just beyond that. The average guy, is it frowned upon? Mad Junior
No,
just asked a great question. Is
no, it's
interracial
not.
dating frowned
It,
upon over there in Germany?
no, it depends on just like in America, in certain pockets, it's going to be frowned upon. But for the most part, it's not frowned upon. You know,
Okay.
if you're a piece of crap, of course they frown upon it. But if you're an honest working person and you're trying to move forward and do something constructive, of course it's not frowned upon. It's
Let me ask you a different thing. How are the military? I've witnessed this. Jimmy, you and I, we go out together when I'm there. We have military guys all around us. We're out to wee in the mornings. How are the military guys acting over there? I haven't been over there in a year or so. How are they acting over there? Are they clowning or are they chilling?
I ain't no snitch. Look, I ain't no snitch. Look, the thing is that you are in a situation where you're told what to do 24 hours a day. Now you have a chance to be in an environment where you don't have to be told, where you don't have to be restricted, and the you can come out. It's the same you that's been pinned up for however long they've been pinned up, and then they're let loose on this population of women who see them as viable partners or one night stands or whatever. So I ain't no snitch.
So some of the things you hear about, the dating scene over there, in your opinion, is real. I mean, it's easy to date. Now we'll get into some other stuff, but it's fairly easy to date, and interracial is not frowned upon. It's just kind of prevalent. For I'm talking about Americans over there, and urban Americans over there.
Yeah, it is. Again, it depends on how strong your game is. You- If
Look,
you
look,
if
look,
you
Jimmy, you keep going with that strong game stuff. I saw guys with no game. I just saw guys in there just cleaning up.
Yeah, but cleaning up what?
Cleaning up, just dating a lot. Just had their
That's all.
pick, had somewhat had their pick of different type of people today that were having a lot of fun. They seem to be kind of hooking up fairly easily compared to America. And the club scene is a lot more friendlier, I would say.
Yeah, but we were in those a lot of those places were hookup spots. So the women in there went in there for the sole purpose of I'm snatching this one or I'm going to get snatched by somebody, and it's whoever got the best, whoever. If I feel in a melancholy mood, whoever suits that mood. If I feel in a flighty mood tonight, if it's the flighty guy and he wants to dance, then that's the one that's going to get it. So it's the who you are. You have to bring your game, not your name.
Ah, man, you're not a snitch. I love it, Jimmy.
I think I have
No, I mean,
fairly, I have a
it's,
fairly
I
basic
see.
question.
I saw a lot. I saw a lot. Like you said,
I
it was
love it. We'll go further. We're gonna go into business in a bit, but I wanted to get this kind of dating stuff. What about the females? I see American, women over there, and they're out hanging out. Do they have equal experiences as far as dating over in Germany?
I've seen. I think it looks like it might be equal.
Yeah,
It,
yeah.
yeah,
And
it might be.
I noticed the German guys were really into the kind of urban women.
Yes.
Where does that come from? Is that just the whole
Uh,
television thing and the
it's
hip hop culture and how it's
yeah,
prevalent
but
across the world?
yeah,
And
of course, it was the connecting with the forbidden because for a long time that was forbidden. There's something called the Rhineland bastards that the soldiers were fathering children along the Rhine, the border of the Rhine. So they understand that creates these what they consider to be beautiful children. So there's a lot of that going on. There's a lot of that from either side. I would say yes, sure,
yeah,
it's there.
I was surprised with the amount of kind of interracial dating, and I was also surprised at how many, from the German guys with with the urban woman, if you will. Yeah,
It's
so
like a lot of these men do that just so that they can stay in the country. That's true with a lot of the women. A lot of the women do that also just to stay in the country.
okay. But those opportunities are there. It's kind of like a melting pot. It was really, really different. It's like the dating scene is on steroids. I mean, I'm trying to bring you up a bit, Jimmy, because yeah, you were talking about the aristocracies and all of that stuff. Come, you're talking to me.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to tell you this is the mindset over here
No, no, no. I
is
get it. Go ahead. Go ahead. I get
is
it.
kind of we don't want to bring the nationalist mindset into it, but those kind of things do they take place. So they have a place in it. If you know what you're doing, you can get some girls, and it's just being able to speak and to know how to speak. These men know how to speak, the women know how to speak, and they connect with one another. They find they jump over the language barriers, and then they get to the business.
Um, this is a good question here. Um, Mad Junior said, I hate to kill the vibe, but is it true about STDs running rampant over there? Now, you often hear those type of questions, like overseas about Brazil and from foreign countries. Like those countries are any different than the United States, and not. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, I've not experienced that. Not any more than in America. That people are running around saying I have this or I have that or I caught this or I caught that. Maybe in the military community because they share the wealth, so to speak, but not in on the mainland, not among the citizens. I've not heard
Yeah,
anything
you
like that.
you definitely don't hear a lot about anything like that. Really, you don't even hear the military guys talking about it like that. And then my boys that live over there, they seem to be dating German women, and there's no real
Yeah,
warnings and stuff. Like some countries you go to, they be talking about that, right? And I don't want to disrespect any particular country that comes to mind that I go to for business, but certainly we don't hear that about Germany when I go
no,
there.
no, not at all. There may be something going on in
Yeah.
Spain or other places, but not there.
Hey,
But
Patrick. Patrick, what else, Patrick? Because I have more on this subject.
Okay, so I was on a YouTube channel of a urban person, and he was talking about how people should dress for success in terms of dating. So if I guess if a brother or an urban person dresses more, I guess, business casual or preppy versus jeans, t-shirt, with that person, that urban person who dresses elevates his dress game, if you will, um, have a better chance of dating German women as compared to the other case.
that's a good question, Patrick. It depends on the environment. Do you typically in an office here? The office dress is t-shirts and jeans, or a collared shirt and a pair of jeans and even a pair of sneakers. That's office dress here. Typically in America, corporate dress. Well, Troy brought me, really taught me a whole lot about the corporate dress. So I understand what corporate dress is, and then just corporate casual, business casual. If you're in that setting where those type of people will recognize that as the norm, then of course that's going to do it. But if you're in a different place, say a rave club or something like that, and you're business casual, then of course they're not going to connect. I dress for the place that I'm going to, uh, which is kind of typically middle of the road. Uh, Shirt, collar, no collar, pair of pants, slacks, or jeans. Again, it depends on the environment you're going to.
Yeah, yeah. I noticed the guys they wear like hip hop gear. Or they used to, um, and if you look urban, there's a segment that likes that style, and then some dress you know business like clean and more European style, and there's some that likes that style. But there is a segment that just kind of like any style when you're going in there urban with flavor. That
Yeah,
just kind of what it
yeah,
is in Germany. Germany, they just like urban America. There's a segment that just likes that, and it was just different from me, Jimmy. I mean, I think you already spoke to that, but I can't overemphasize the hype is real.
yeah. It is. Uh, Times do change. So to piggyback your question there, Patrick,
Hmm.
nowadays that Kanye West, Bruno Mars type of dress is pretty much the norm now.
Yeah,
That's what most people are wearing when you go to a place. That would be that kind of sports jacket with that kind of the Brooklyn, the uptown, the downtown stuff, the uptown
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Like,
because I'm
like,
dating myself a little bit because when I used to really be in the scene, that's what we were wearing back then. I haven't been out in that scene in a bit. When I come to Germany, mainly Jimmy, when I come to Germany now for business, we kind of go to a restaurant and have a meal, right? And
Yeah, sure.
and
Yeah,
kind of
sure.
hang out and you know behave like brothers. We're both older and we're not ripping and running like crazy. But yeah, but Jimmy, I do occasionally see you with you show your hand and you have a nice one under your arm. You come out and floss a little bit. It's like, Troy, look at what I'm working with here.
I, I have, I am committed to someone who is committed to me.
Yes, and you're a lucky man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for some years now. So that's really really cool. Jimmy, we keep getting questions about food and stuff like that over there. I'm a big schnitzel person too. Miss Jams is referring to. I think all Americans like the schnitzel. It's just American tasting German food. What are your favorite foods over there? What are you eating? What do Americans typically like if they were coming to Germany and were to order something?
Oh, they make the mistake of thinking they can get sauerkraut everywhere. The bratwurst, of course, is what the bratwurst is supposed to be. The schnitzel, of course, is also always good. Uh, doner kebab, which is kind of like a falafel. Uh, am I saying that right? Falafel? You know what you know what a doner kebab is with that bread? It's no, it's like a
I'm
pita.
I'm familiar with the falafel from the Middle East.
Yeah, I don't know all those foods. I'm
It's
not
more
that
it's more like
cultured
a
on the
pita. It's more
foods.
this is more like a pita.
Yes, yes, and then
Yeah.
they have like shaved chicken or something like that.
There you go. Yeah, so
Yeah,
this is
and
kind
then
of a
the falafel is kind of some very um, it's some kind of vegetable, kind of non-meat side side garnishment.
oh, I see. Well, I misspoke. Then it would be it's more like a pita, which is then the shaved, like you said, the shaved slice, and then it's wrapped up in a
Yeah,
piece of
yeah, almost like a Greek hero.
All right,
yeah.
Jimmy. I'm not letting you off the hook. I'm coming back. There are a few more questions I have, but go ahead. Go ahead.
But we're just talking about the food, French fries, of course. Uh, there's a lot. I don't eat a lot of the food over here. I
So
mean,
Jimmy, let's go back to dating before we go to business. Do you have to speak the language? Do you have to speak German
it
to
helps.
for Patrick to marry his beautiful German woman?
The worse you speak the language, the better.
Well, wait a
But
minute. Will you repeat that?
the worse you speak the language, the better, because it's
Hell
very
no.
charming.
To the no, no, no. Hell to the no.
So so it's good if I'm a fast talking New Yorker and say and stumble with the language there. Is that what you're saying?
And if you stumble with it, yes, of course.
The
It
worse you
doesn't
speak
have
the language, the more help you get, huh?
yeah, of course, because it's they see it as charming. I'm embarrassed to speak the language, but they see it as charming. It's like a French guy who comes over and speaks to the women in America, and he's speaking the French and he's speaking the American English, and he doesn't know how to speak
Oh
it so
man,
well.
people don't believe you. People are going,
Hell no. To the no, no, no. Hell to the no.
yeah,
Look,
it's real. It's real. Yeah, you don't have to speak the language.
but it helps. You asked me if it helps to speak the language. Of course, it helps to speak that. They will try to speak English, but they find it extremely charming when you speak the language. they find it extremely. Look, I went to when I was in Portugal, and I stepped on the stage. I didn't say good evening. I'm here with you. I said something in Portuguese. And just the speaking alone gets you a standing ovation, just speaking that language. So when you try the language,
Jimmy, we
it
get that. We get that, Jimmy, but stay here
it
with
connects.
me. Hey, welcome in the building, E. I didn't get a chance to say that earlier. Hugh B, welcome in the building. I didn't get to say that earlier. But go ahead, Jimmy. You know. Do you have to
It
speak the
connects.
language to
You
meet
don't have
German
to
women?
speak. You don't have to speak it, but it helps. How's that?
It helps. Oh my god.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my
Go ahead.
goodness.
Go ahead.
Hell no.
Go
To the
ahead.
no, no, no. Hell to the no.
You don't have to speak the language, Jimmy. All you have to do is just show up and just spit. Come on, Jimmy. This is a bet out of debt show. We're gonna talk business, but let's keep it 100 with my audience. Let's keep it 100 with the parents, so they're sending their children over there for vacation. They may go over there and be in the military and stay over there. They're gonna get a lot of love over there, and they can get distracted, Jimmy. Let's keep it 100.
Yes, of course they can get distracted. You can get distracted anywhere you are, my brother.
They can get more distracted than Germany.
Yeah, I know. But it's not just German. You know, you have Italian women. You have
Well, I
uh,
was about to go there. I was about to go
okay.
there. So my next question was going to be, and we alluded to it earlier, are all German women blonde hair and blue eye?
No, sir. That's
Can you describe the population that kind of blew my mind when I first went to Germany back in like 2001, 2002? I was just thinking I was going to see all these blonde hair, blue eye women, and it's like, what are all these sisters and stuff doing over here? Turkish and all of that, and everyone's dating everyone. But go ahead, can you describe that for us? And
it,
is it
it.
still like that over there?
It's a veritable smelting pot. Okay, so it's a smelting pot, and it's filled with dark-haired women from the Asiatic realm, from Eurasia, from I see, sorry, from also like I said, Italy, from Austria, from Australia, from Kyrgyzstan, from Dubai. A lot of women, and they come there because, first of all, uh, Claudia Schiffer for Stuttgart. Claudia Schiffer was discovered walking down Königstrasse.
Ooh.
Somebody somebody saw her walking down Königstrasse and took her for a model, and that was her backstory that they found her on Königstrasse. So now you had an influx of models, dark-haired models, black-haired models. A lot of them just started coming there. So then you had an influx of very, very good-looking women who also, during that time, loved black music. So they were all into urban men. They were into the urban scene. And one of the things that you have to have in an urban scene is melanites.
Oh, he threw the melanite word.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Melanite. Whoa. Oh, man.
So, so would you compare, let's say, the eclectic multicultural mix, kind of similar to that of London's? Because when you go to London, you see all kinds of
Yeah,
different
but would you think, I'm almost say
maybe not
German
at
is
that
more
maybe
mixed
not
than
at that
London.
level, but maybe a similarly.
Yeah, what do you think, Jimmy? Have you been to London? I go to London a lot. I've been to London a lot. For me, Germany seems more mixed than London, but maybe you have a difference of opinion. You live over there, so
I I've not been to London enough to make the comparison, but I can tell you that sprinkled throughout Germany. I've been in every single corner of Germany, and it is full of diverse people. Even the most uh, remote places in Germany have a mixture of people from different places, from different lineages.
yeah, yeah, and yeah, it's pretty diverse, and the thing is kind of like everyone's kind of dating everyone. It's a really they have a very good looking population, from American standards. It's a really good looking population as far
They
as
stay fit.
yeah. What
They
what was
stay
that,
fit.
Jimmy?
They stay fit.
Yeah, they're into the fitness, and they just have you just have kind of everything there. And I know one of the guys I kick it with over there used to Terry. He married a Turkish girl over there, German, and came back. No Daz had an Italian German girl. I think Jimmy, your girl's Italian, right?
Yep, Italian, German.
Italian, German. I mean, and then you have those Eritrean, African Germans there, and then you have the mixture of the military guys that's been going over there since the 60s and 50s that
Yeah.
have, the second generation thing going. I mean, you have such a mixture over there. It's crazy, just different. Patrick, did you have another question?
Yeah, yeah, I do. So just to follow up on that, so I yes, people think of Germany as tall, blonde, blue eyes, just kind of like similar to Scandinavia. However, would you say that that's becoming more and more of a minority of Germans who are kind of blonde and blue eyes?
It was never a majority. It was the target of the Third Reich to create that kind of lineage because he said that that's where that lineage came from. But he tried to make those people like the Scandinavians. He even went so far as to go to Russia and grab children who were of that lineage and bring them back to be raised with German families. Uh, so no, it's not that thing over here. It's dark haired. Actually, Germans were uh, not that tall. They had the big legs because they had to climb up and down mountains, but they were not that tall. They had dark hair. They had the dark eyes, brown, black eyes, but not the blonde hair, blue eyed thing.
Yeah, yeah, that's the surprising thing, the amount of dark hair, and not your prototypical blonde, blue eye that you think of Aryan, right? So, um, real quick, Patrick, question that I had for you: do you have to be rich to date German women or men if you're a woman?
Do you have to? No, you don't have to be rich,
I just wanted to see where you could go with this,
but
Jimmy.
but one should have a goal or a trajectory. You have to know what you're doing. You can't do. I wouldn't be with someone not knowing what I'm supposed to do, or what I have a plan. I have to have a plan, and if you have a plan, typically these people will stand behind you.
I'm not just talking you. I'm talking in particular the person that would come over there, right? Like, my child, my son, you know, um, my daughter, uh, my friend's child is in the military, and they wanted to consider having a mate from Germany. Do they? From what you see, from being out in the scene, you are a musician. You know, do the guys over there typically have to be rich? Do they have to pop a lot of bottles, or are the women over there pretty simple?
No, they're not as simple as the women in Paris. The women in Paris, if you just have a good personality, but if you have some sort of goals and some sort of drive, like I said, a trajectory, then typically, you can join with someone.
Okay. Okay.
It's like in America, nobody, hardly anyone wants dead weight, and it's like that all over the world, I would imagine.
Hmm.
Patrick, do you have more questions around this relationship stuff?
No, that's about it. I mean, I think we covered a lot
I
of.
still have a few more from
I'm sure
questions I
you
got from
do.
people, Jimmy. Um,
Yes, but
um, what are some of the warning signs you have to look for in selecting a German partner, whether male or female? Let's start with the guys. I mean, I have mostly guys here, and I have to look out for Patrick, right? Because Patrick may be over there in Stuttgart on the next flight. Um, what are some of the warning signs you have to look out for these German women?
I would say the same ones you have to look out for in American women are do they do what they say? Have they done what they said? Uh, are they goal oriented? Can they speak with you? One warning sign: argumentative. The argumentative. I covered that in one of my books, The Art of Verbal Communication.
Well,
The
we're going to get
argument,
to your books in a moment, but go ahead, continue.
but that argument, when you see that it might start out playful, these arguments, but what ends up happening is the absence of communication, the absence of understanding, because the word "but" comes from rebuttal, and rebuttal means I'm negating whatever it is you just said. So those arguments are not just differences of opinion; those arguments are are wars. There are many wars. So I look for the argument. Is this someone who can forgive? Is it someone who can forget? Is it someone who is tolerant? Is it someone who is accepting? Is it somebody who sacrifices for me? Because then I can do that for them, and then that becomes this symbiotic relationship. But the warning signs is for me is that argument, and are they violent? Do they playfully hit you?
What?
Really,
What?
really.
Hell no.
What?
To the no, no, no. Hell to the no.
Do they
A brother got to
playfully
worry
hit?
about getting beat up in Germany?
Now it's not a question of
Hell
getting beat up.
no. To the no, no, no. Hell to the no.
Go ahead,
It's a
Jimmy.
question.
Sorry.
Thank you for the hell no. Uh, but that's within the relationship. When that person resolves their issues with that, even if it's just the pulling or the fighting. So those are you asked me for the warning signs. Those are the warning signs.
Yeah. Those are actually good warning signs. Actually,
That argument that we can't come to an agreement. How are
yeah.
we supposed to agree on life when we can't come to an agreement about these many things?
That seems to be kind of prevalent over there to the culture. I mean, you have some argumentative types over there, don't you?
Yeah, of course, because this is America's has they've taken on the visage of being this intelligent, these intelligent beings. Plus, there's a regime that made it lethal for you to be wrong. So a lot of people will argue being right even when they're wrong, because there was a time here that you could lose your life for being wrong. So that's kind of embedded into the culture that you don't present yourself as being wrong.
So Jimmy, if how do you compare? We didn't talk men. Are the men similar warning signs for the men for a woman?
Machismo is a warning sign anywhere, and the men here,
Machismo. It's like overly macho attitude.
That's even if it's hidden, even if it's hidden, that machismo, that do as I do as I say, not as I do. Um, that's going to be
That exists over there. Is that exist over there quite a bit, or is that just kind of
pretty much the man has to say, and the woman kind of shuts her mouth.
that's
Uh,
kind of cultural? That's a cultural thing over there.
that it has been for a long time.
So
But
that's why maybe that's why when American guys go over there with the American attitudes, especially the democracy and urban women being very strong and how urban guys really look up to their women and their mothers and stuff. Maybe that's why that mindset is why these guys get so much love, and because they see the American guy and it's like an attraction, and it could be that mindset. But go ahead.
I'm sure that plays a big part of it. I'm absolutely sure that it plays a big part of it. Again, it depends on the individual, but for what I've seen, a lot of the men are, uh, I don't know who keeps calling me. A lot of the men are that way. They do see it that way. They do speak and expect that because that's embedded in the culture here. Thousands of years of that culture.
Okay. Okay. All right. Interesting. Yeah. Hugh B had a question. He had a question about your thoughts on as pertaining to this subject. I will assume on the northern Mediterranean area, uh, and then he said Spain, Portugal, and Italy. That's not. Is that the? Oh yeah, that is northern Mediterranean.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I don't know. We're talking Germany here, but
But I've been down through there. So
yeah.
what does he
What are
want
your
to know?
thoughts about that? I want to make sure we get the chat some love. Thank you, Hugh. Yeah,
Thoughts on the northern Mediterranean? It's beautiful down there, man. We talking
we're talking opposite sex down there.
we're talking
Jimmy, I gotta keep you there, Jimmy. We know it's beautiful
also,
there.
we're talking.
My audience have
You know
traveled,
what I'm talking
right?
about? Sardinia. We're talking. My girl's from Bari. She's from Bari, and it's just a beautiful culmination of of the uh, the Persian and the Roman. It's the Persian and the Roman and all of these people mating also with the Northern Africans and the Moroccans and all these people. So it's just this mixture of gorgeous tan beauties. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, sure. It's
yeah.
just
I've
a
been down to
wonderful.
Spain. I haven't been to Portugal. I've been to Italy. I mean, Italy was nuts when I was there. I remember, that was 20 years ago. Though I was out by myself and in Rome, and just had people surrounding me, trying to talk to me, trying to. I couldn't speak. All I could say is no Italiano, parle inglese. That's all I could say. And
That's enough.
Mm. I know
Cool.
Portugal is beautiful. I was there a couple of decades ago, and especially some of those fishing villages. You know,
Oh,
you
yeah.
could be
so
attractive people
let me
there.
take you out of the fishing village and put you back on the seat, Jimmy.
What's that?
What do the German women say about American women and American men? What do the
They
German women say?
they use a word oberflächlich.
Repeat that.
Uber, Uber, like Uber,
Uh huh.
fleshlich.
What does that mean?
Uh, I forgot the American word for it. It is um, insincere.
Insincere. So German
In
women think that is that the guys or the girls?
both.
German women
We
think
become
that American women are insincere,
They think that we're insincere because we speak emotions. Okay, but you understand? You've been over here.
and
When you
American men are insincere.
Hell no, to the no, no, no. Hell to the no.
Go ahead. Sorry, I
yeah,
apologize for that, Jimmy.
no, that's all right. I deserve it. But they think that we're insincere because we say everything is going to be all right. The German wants to say that the tragedy is the tragedy, and perhaps nothing comes of it. And Americans say, yes, that was tragedy, but something good will come from it. If you ask in German, how are you doing? Mir geht's schlecht, I'm really bad, things are awful, and it's not good. If you ask an American who you know is going through something, hey, how's it going? Well, you just lost your father. Well, you know what? It's going to work out in my favor. And they say that that's insincere because you should say what it is you're feeling to some degree.
Hey, Jimmy.
Yes, sir.
So Miss Jams hit me with this. She said, "What is Germans? What is the German attitude towards nudity?" This is a good one too.
Easy peasy.
What? Whoa! Repeat that, please.
Easy peasy. When you
No.
go to a,
What does that easy peasy mean? Because I'm familiar with this question.
they have some, they have some, not sweat, saunas. The most saunas you go in nude. And people look at your
That is
genitals and
correct.
they look at
That
each
is
other's
correct.
genitals, and that's a fact. And they have also a couple of nude beaches here, so they don't look at it as a like we do in the provincial way. They look at it as an open, honest expression of the physical form. So they have nude pictures here and there. You'll see, you see breasts on the posters here. You see uh, statues with winkies on them. You see everywhere. So it's they're open and honest about it, pretty much.
Okay. Um, if in comparing German, and let's keep it with the women now. In comparing German women with American women, would you say one is better than the other? From your experiences from living over there and growing up and being over here?
I'm not qualified to make that distinction. It it depends on the woman and the relationship that I have with the woman. What am I expecting from her? What is she expecting from me?
Let me ask you a different. Let me ask you a question differently, which is a
Okay.
big subject in the United States. Are the German women really? Are they feminine? Are they very feminine, or are they more masculine attitude?
Culturally, they've been raised to be feminine. But the trend today, since we're going to a matriarchal society, is for them to take on more responsibility and to take on more, to present themselves as stronger beings.
With that said, how do they treat their men?
Previously, they treated them the way the relationship was supposed to be, the Judeo Christian subservient woman serving her man or helping her man to build life for them. Uh, the trend is now more towards you can get it yourself, girl, which is exactly what's happening in America right now. It seems to be a global trend of, except in places where a girl could get stoned or caned for talking back. For here, it's I can get it myself. I can build it better uh, if I need to, and I will help you, but I won't be dominated by you.
Okay.
Pretty
Yeah.
much the same thing that's going on in America.
So it sounds like a feminine mindset, but I'm not gonna let you run over me, but I'm gonna take care of my man type of thing. I'm just trying to.
Also, yeah, I agree.
I'm just
Again,
trying
like
to
I said, they will
clarify.
assist in the building up, but they won't be taken for granted.
Okay, but they will bring that strong feminine energy, that strong sense of commitment, and you're my man, and I take on more of a female role mindset as pertaining to relationships, but also spin off as an independent professional. I'm just trying to balance this to kind of put some color to it.
That is the balance. If they are a professional, then they will.
Because I mean, some of the complaints about American women, some of those complaints are that American women, they're masculine, they think like a man, they act like a man, not act like a man, but they think that they don't take on some of those traditional roles, but they want to be treated traditionally. So, so do the German women, and we're talking a big group, right? Because the German women is just not like, So do that culture, do they typically take on like a traditional mindset in their approach to the woman, and a different mindset than their approach to career, or am I getting that wrong?
I think it's the both. They love being feminine, but they're being influenced by the media to be that they can be feminine and masculine at the same time. It's kind of androgynous. They can be feminine, but they can also lead like a man. They can, serve like a woman, but still lead like a man, which is, androgyny at its finest.
Oh, okay, all right. That's the best I can ask. I don't know, you know. So I was just asking. What differences do you see in kind of raising kids, the way the Germans raise kids versus an American, the way we're raised over here?
Well, now you're talking about even the variation of cultures in America, and because we raised different people raise their children differently in America. It's more of a, like you said, that Judeo-Christian upbringing, right and wrong. They're hardly chastised for doing anything wrong. They're given free reign to learn and to move themselves forward because you're talking about a pretty safe environment. So there's not a danger of the mistakes are not as fatal as mistakes would be in the States. So they're allowed to make more mistakes than in America. And they're handled with a less of a rein. In America, we keep the reins on and we kind of guide the children. And here, the children are guided mostly by the teachers. And at home, they're just basically left to their own devices.
Gotcha. And I think that's kind of most of where we wanted to go along those lines, um, along dating and stuff. Do you, I guess, just from looks and stares when you out with your German partner? Do you get a lot of looks and stares? Do you get any pushback being, American or urban and dating in that type of scene or living in that country?
It depends on where one goes. In a more cosmopolitan setting, of course, like Berlin, it's accepted because people are thinking more uh, experimentally. In the south or in the far east of Germany, it seemed differently because these people aren't used to they aren't used to that kind of union. It just depends on where.
Okay. Okay.
Of course, I get the stares, but I get those when I just walk up and down the street by myself.
Yeah. 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 I've been with you, and we both gotten those stares.
Yeah, so you know,
Yeah. Patrick, let me give you another opportunity. I think we got through the most of everything we wanted to ask about this dating and relationship stuff. There was a question about the education level. For the most part, are the opposite sex. What's the education system like? Are the people you date over there? Are they, you know, what is that like over there? Is it mainly an educated population, or is it like college educated, or is it more a trade? What is it like over there?
it's more college educated people here. You to even have a decent job here, you have to have uh, most decent jobs. There are some that you can get that require no degree, but typically degrees are required, at least a bachelor's degree, to even work in uh, in a business environment here. It's typically the bachelor's, and you have to have it. And most people who have it then find mates at pretty much at their jobs.
Yeah, and then there was another question about cooking and dating German women cooking. Can they cook American food? Do they have problem cooking American food? Growing up in a culture there was a lot of questions around food. And what's your experience around that? And do they say just eat schnitzels and bratwursts and
No, 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 no. It depends. You know, they my girl tries to cook the American stuff and she succeeds. We just had apple pie. She knows how to make pumpkin pie. She knows how to make a lot of the American dishes that we eat. Plus, I love Italian food, so I'm right at home with her cooking Italian. I'm really good with that. So I mean, yeah, imagine a lot of the food that we eat in America are is Italian food from different places from Germany. We also from Asia, the Asian food. So the American food, no, because they don't know a lot of the American food because that stuff is even seen as taboo here. It's seen as unhealthy stuff
yeah,
loaded with fat.
Hmm.
yeah, that's a good point.
So a lot of them don't even fool with it. But I'm kind of happy with that because a lot of the American food also has its limitations in terms of the nutrients that it gives the body. I'm extremely healthy, and it's due to a healthy diet.
Yeah, yeah, they're really health conscious over there. They think our food is junk. It's full of poison and chemicals. They're really into fresh foods and stuff over there.
That's right.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
and then and you know you alluded to it earlier. What about working out and stuff like that? How do they stay fit? Is fitness part of the culture?
Absolutely. Almost, I would say, at least 50% of the people that I know belong to a fitness uh, club. I have fitness things here. I have, the weights and the bike and the stepper because those things are extremely important. I got that over my second day here. What really let me know that fitness was important for this environment. I saw a man with one leg riding a bicycle, and he had to be at least 80 years old, but he had one leg and he was on a bicycle and he was riding back and forth to the store. And so that kind of let me know that this is a health conscious environment. They eat, they try to eat healthier, and they do the training. I run almost every day here, almost every day.
Okay. All right. Wow. All right. Sounds like you would recommend a partner over there if they had the right fit, right?
That is right, because the right partner here will be loyal. That's why I did music here, because the musicians, because they are a loyal people when that situation is correct. Now, when it isn't, then disloyalty does rear its head. But for the most part, you're talking about a loyal culture.
Okay. All right. Let's. Wow, man. Really, really good stuff. If you like what you're hearing, if you find it useful, please share and like the video. You can like it. It doesn't cost anything. It lets Jimmy know that you appreciate his time and the content he's sharing. I mean, he's coming to us live from Stuttgart, Germany. So we're happy to have you here. And approximately how many years have you been there, Jimmy? I think it's around 25, but it hasn't been longer.
No, it hasn't been longer. I actually, before setting up roots here, I was on tour, and with this gospel, the one I spoke about before, and we were
It's 7 o'clock.
we toured the Netherlands, we were touring Portugal and Spain and Italy and Switzerland and Austria and Russia and all over Germany and, like I said, all over Italy. So some Dubai, some Istanbul, just going all over doing this. So for the first couple of years, I lived in a bus, just traveling all over, and you make your way. For me, it was like going. It was like a free ticket to school. All the things that I had learned about the Colosseum, the Eiffel Tower, France, you know those places.
Yep.
So all of these places in Rome, you read about it, and then you're standing there, and then if something clicks in your head that this is special.
Yep.
This is special.
I
So
got it.
yeah, it was.
Jimmy, let's talk about you and let people get to know the business side of you. So I really wanted to dive into that partnership and relationship stuff for people, who may have children or consider dating someone over there. That's a big interest.
May I
But
summarize?
go ahead. Go
Yeah.
ahead, please.
Trust your instincts. If it looks like a snake, it makes an S sound and leaves S prints on the sand, then that's what it is. Trust your instincts. And if it's fighting and arguing, not that, but anything else, yeah, sure, you can build on that. That's my summary for the relationship thing.
Okay. All right, cool. I got a question from, hey, I didn't shout out Dawson earlier. Dawson in the building.
Hey,
Um,
Dawson.
do you see that question from Dawson? He just hit us because I'm going to spin off into your books here in a moment.
Cultural impact, how much does. Whoa. That has to do with security, just like in America. Can I be secure? The question is, with regard to the female mindset and cultural impact, how much does economics impact how men and women receive one another okay, yeah, that goes to security. Is it a hustle cash? Is it something that's going to move us forward? Can we take that money and invest it in stocks? Uh, do we have the wherewithal to work with one another so that we can build a house, so that we can pool our investments? So instead of getting, 100 shares, a block of Microsoft, we can get 2 blocks of Microsoft, or whatever it is, whatever we're talking about. Uh, they don't. You, that woman is the same woman that you would find in the States. who has that concept, who understands the financial component of a relationship. And COVID is kind of difficult right now because, stars are not shining.
Yeah, yeah, and you'll find that, especially in Germany, you don't have to be the multimillionaire. You just have to have goals and just be a stand up person. You just can't be that guy just hanging out and just drinking and just trying to go from woman to woman. I mean, you could do that, but to have a secure relationship there, you don't really have to have a lot of money, Jimmy. You just have to have goals and
That's
just be
right.
a straight up guy.
And the appearance of working towards those goals.
Yeah, and you'll get a partner that buys in there. Right? That's just kind of culturally, but you got to be about something. You just really, yeah. I thought you did that really well, Jimmy. Let's get into your books, Jimmy. I want to flash your books up here. Um, let's get into this, and I think you can see my screen. Jimmy, you are the author of 5 different books. Let's talk about these.
Oh, well,
That's the A
I just,
Black Thread, and what are these other ones here, Jimmy?
well, there's The Art of Verbal Communication. Uh, it's How to Perform Like a Star. It is A Black Thread, Life Pimpin' for Dummies, and Atlas Pop. So the Black Thread is basically history. I was looking for history because I try to study and I try to, Troy and I talk about these things all the time where we
Yep.
try to learn something. And that, we're on an academic level where we try to enrich ourselves all the time. So I was trying to enrich myself with Black history, and there was some stuff that was kind of missing. And so what I did was I dug for about 4 or 5 years and found some of the information that proves that uh, people of color were not just participants in the history that exists on our earth, but some of the reasons for that history. Uh, for example, the American Revolution. I don't want to speak against anything, but I won't, which I won't speak against anything. But it wasn't just tea and taxes that caused the American Revolution. Let me just say this: if America, just like England, had become an English colony, then America couldn't keep slaves. Now, when you look at all the people who signed the contract, most of them. So you read the book and you'll understand that we were not just participants in history. We were a reason for a lot of those things that happened. Um, the How to Perform Like a Star is just from the history of stage and what a person does to present himself as a professional performer, no matter what that is, as a speaker, as a dancer, as a juggler, whatever that person does. It's how to present that stuff on stage, because that's just from, I was on stage, like I said, I've opened up for Boys to Men. They were insane. I've opened up for Genuine, for Casey and JoJo. So seeing how these people perform and how they address the stage and how they approach caused me to write that book, because I understood how professional these guys were. All right. The art of verbal communication comes from me trying to discuss with people things and then winding up in arguments after argument after argument because the information wasn't getting transferred. I was trying to speak to them. They were speaking to me, but no one was listening. So that's what that book is. The Atlas Pop is a science fiction book about a future where singing is not allowed, and the only people who are on stage are people who do finances. They talk about financial stuff, and that's all that is. It's just a science fiction book about the future of the world without music. And so that people on stage with the dancers and all of that are no longer musicians who sing. There are people who do only financial stuff. That means that Patrick would be a star in the future because he would go and stand on stage and tell people about financial, and he would fill up stadiums because he would talk about financial stuff. And so that's Atlas Pop. It's based on Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand, which is that's an interesting book. But then Life Pimpin' for Dummies is based on the Pimp My Ride, where you take the things that are around you, you pimp your job, you make your job better. Like a good friend of mine said, it is better to toot your own horn. Some guy told me that you have to toot your own horn, that your boss should know. Your boss should know when you're doing great things. I know who told me that. The guy I respect a whole lot. Pimping your children, that means teaching them how to be better children, making sure that they're pimping your health, your body, your mind, pimp your body, pimping your mind. So it's just Life Pimping for Dummies, how to make yourself better. Just a few books that basically, hopefully, help people.
And that's your newest book, isn't it?
The newest book is Atlas Pop, and then I'm finishing another one called The Last Lie, which is another science fiction book. Basically, lies tear apart the space-time continuum, and the world's had enough. So, just allowing. Do you know why, Troy? Do you know why, sir?
Why?
Because people from urban communities seldom write books. We go on the word of mouth. We tell the stories, but we hardly ever write those stories down. And that's why I wanted to write the stories down, so that people could know what I thought during my lifetime, and they have a frame of reference that they can look at over and over again. It doesn't have to come from memory. They can literally read it. I'm trying to be that James Baldwin. I'm trying to be those people who wrote down, I'm not trying to be James Baldwin, but those people who wrote down their concepts and their ideas. So that's what the books are all about.
And Jimmy, here's your contact info here too, if you're looking on screen. www.jimmylove.jimdo.com.
Yeah, sure.
And then
but I can give you, I'll give you more contact stuff. It's easy peasy.
Right, but it's for our audience if they want to hit up Jimmy Love. I see you have your Big FM handle here, Jimmy Love at bigfmde.com, and your YouTube, Jimmy Love, youtube.com/Jimmy Love. So I just wanted to flash that on the screen. So in case someone's over there in the Stuttgart area, they can hit you up or listen to you on the Big FM, the national radio station. How long have you been doing that?
12 years now, actually. 12 years I've been doing it. I'm the station voice, so I'm their brand. I am their brand. With a radio station, it's the person who does the announcements or the sound, a jingle, or just like you have your the things that you know. I'm loving that. So so that's your brand. So I am their brand. When people hear Deutschland speaks to people, then they know what radio station they're listening to because I've become their brand. And then I also have a radio show, a hip hop show, and a love lounge that I do.
Yeah, and Patrick, you should hear Jimmy Love. Occasionally, he'll shout out your man here in Seattle and say, I want to do a shout out to my brother out in Seattle, Troy Johnson, and all of this, and then he'll send me the clip that He did on the Big
Hmm.
F film. So, man, we're brothers, man. We've been brothers for a couple of decades. Brothers from another mother. This is my guys. I kick it with. I stay with when I'm over there. So, big. You're doing big stuff, Jimmy. How did all of that come about for you? For those who want to live overseas and kind of, maybe want to get out of the United States and try something different, or a parent who wants to talk to their child about that opportunity. Well, how did that come about for you?
It's not that difficult. Again, it's the trust in myself and belief that I could do something great, that I could exist in a different place, and then understanding what the laws are here in order for to assimilate. Once you understand what visas you're supposed to have, and if you make a connection with the company, then it becomes fairly easy, because what people don't know is that Germany is still a subsidiary. Germany is still a subsidiary of America. So that's our sister. We are their sister country. So people who want to come here can come here, and people who want to come go there from here can go there. You just have to understand what the language is and what the language requirements are. Get yourself over here. Teaching English, very easy, especially if you have a degree. If you have a degree, it doesn't have to be even in teaching English, but you have to have had some sort of a course, an English speaking course. I taught English. So I taught business English, and you can teach business English with a firm. There are lots of firms here. You can come in as a private person teaching. You can come in as an au pair or a nanny or something like that. But there are different situations and different ways that one can get here. My suggestion would be first to make a connection with a company that does whatever it is you're interested in, and begin to make inroads.
I got a question. What is the Love Lounge?
The Love Lounge, that is where it's a quiet storm.
Oh, okay. That's the radio show you do, the Love Lounge.
Yeah, it's a quiet storm.
I think
Actually, if
someone.
you go to Mixcloud and type in Mixcloud Jimmy Love, let
Yep,
me put that in here.
the Love Lounge. That's your show, huh? Okay.
That's one of them.
So, Jimmy, it sounds like there's opportunities over there for those who want to come over there and work. Um, and it looks like we have something here. See that, Jimmy?
What's
Mixcloud,
the mix? That's
Jimmy
me. That's
Love.
from me. I just typed that in.
Yep,
Mixcloud Jimmy Love.
yep. So that's if you wanna
And that's where you can listen to the hip hop shows and the other stuff.
hear Jimmy Love, you could just hit that Mixcloud /Jimmy Love that's on the screen, and you can hear Jimmy. Hey, Jimmy. What other investment opportunities like in Germany over there? And Patrick, maybe you have some questions along the business lines as well.
Yeah. So, um, what's it like trading in stocks? Like, how, like, what kind of platforms, I guess, one could use to trade in stocks over there in Germany, and what would be the cost? Because here in America, we have TD Ameritrade, TradeStation, Charles Schwab, and a few others, and it's very easy to open up an account. You can do it like right away, and the commissions for at least stocks, ETFs, and various other investments are like commission free, and options are just like a fraction of a dollar.
Uh,
Are you a stock trader? If you're not a stock trader, you don't have to. You know.
I used to be. I got my Series 67. I got my Series.
But do
I mean
you
Series
trade in Germany? Go ahead.
not
Sorry,
in,
I
not
didn't
in
mean to
Germany.
interrupt.
Series 63. I had that in the States, so I traded. It's just that here I don't know. But the people that I know who do trade, they use NASDAQ. They
They
use the
use
Wall Street
what?
Journal.
They use what?
They use NASDAQ. They use the what we use.
Okay, they trade the Nasdaq over there like we do.
Yeah, sure. They just look up and see what's doing well. They look and see what might be what a burgeoning stock is or what, and then they start to use those things. That's what they use typically. They don't have their own stock system. They use the same one that Japan and that everybody uses.
Okay. Hey, there was a quick question here. What's the healthcare system like in Germany? We kind of skipped that.
Oh, that's easy. That's it's you're required to have health care. It takes care of everything for you. I'm not sure about the deductibles. There are different plans for different deductibles, just like in America, but you're required to have it. You can't not have it. And when you have it, it takes care of everything. So when you have the right plan, you go to dental and you don't pay any uh, covers or anything like that.
Okay. Yeah, that's okay. And is it expensive even for Americans or whatever, or is it reasonable?
It's based on your income.
Oh, so based on your income in a reasonable manner, or based on your income where it's expensive?
Exorbitant.
What? Could you repeat that?
Exorbitant. It's for me. It's too high.
Okay.
It's very high. We're talking the normal person pays 300-400 a month.
Ooh. Ooh,
That's
that's
the normal.
expensive.
Yeah.
That's extremely expensive. My girl pays 400 and something a month.
Ooh.
Wow.
Wow. Even as a professional here, making a good salary, on my job, that's still a lot of money for healthcare.
That's you understand it.
Okay. All right. We were going to get into some other stuff related to that in a moment. Go ahead, Patrick. Before I go into some of this other business stuff.
Okay, so how would you compare the taxes, the level of taxation in Germany as compared to here in the U.S.?
It's in terms of percentage, it's about the same, and it also escalates when you go. Actually, it escalates beyond a certain level. Once you get to a certain income level, it becomes 50%, or
50%. Wow.
yeah, it can be 55 to 60%.
Yeah. Well, when you combine, I guess California, which is the highest tax state, and the federal tax, it's getting pretty. It's around 45. It's 48. It's pretty high here in
Yep.
California, anyways.
Oh, I see. Once you get to a certain level here, it gets up pretty high. It gets pretty high.
Okay.
But typically, let me see. I'm gonna say it's around. It could be between 1 and 3%. I'm sorry, between 10 and 30%, typically.
Okay.
Between 10 and 30% of the normal income.
Yeah, that could be pretty high. Um, Another thing is, how would you compare the cost of living? Like, what would it cost for, I guess, a two-bedroom, two-bathroom apartment in terms of renting? I mean, I'm sure it depends upon the city, but what have you seen?
The prices here are escalating
Mm-hmm.
because the land is becoming more and more expensive. But okay, the apartment that I lived in, let's say in German in Stuttgart, it was about 800, about 900 a month, right?
And
And that was pretty much rent control, and that was a penthouse that was on top of a building and blah blah blah. But the when I moved out, the same apartment rented for 1,800. just like that. A guy bought, and the guy had the top floor of that apartment, and he bought that apartment, that condo, for, let's say he bought for 780,000 or something like that. He sold it just right after I left, and I talked to him about it. He sold it for 2.5 million. So you can see where the prices are going. So the apartment in normally a normal neighborhood or a village is going to cost you between 600 and 1,000 for 2 bedroom. In the city, that's going to be double.
Okay. So, and what would you say would be the most expensive part of Germany that you have seen, and stuff that I guess the rest would be more reasonable.
Bad Homburg is a place where the millionaires hang out. That's a place where there are it's a culmination of billionaires, and so there's a very high level of expense there. But for the most part, the big cities, Hamburg, Hanover, Cologne, the bigger cities are going to attract different levels of industry. Stuttgart
Mm-hmm.
is a motor town. Stuttgart is Porsche. It is
Yes.
yeah. It's Mercedes Benz. It's
Mm-hmm.
Daimler. It's all it's BMW, BMW. It's a whole lot of different. It's Bosch. So you're talking about a turnover also. So that means they can get more money for the apartments because these people. A buddy of mine bought a hotel there, and he bought the hotel for, I think, a million and a half or something like that. But the point is that the hotel has 300 and something rooms, and Bosch rents out those rooms the entire year. So he doesn't even have to worry about anything because Bosch is already paying high prices for his rooms. He landed. So it depends on the city, and it depends on what you're interested in doing.
Mm-hmm. So I would imagine a city like Frankfurt. I'm not sure if you've been to Frankfurt,
Oh yeah,
Germany.
he's been to Frankfurt many times. Frankfurt's not far away.
I used to live near Frankfurt.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would imagine that would be one of the more expensive cities because of the concentration in finance.
In the city, yes. The surrounding areas, not too much. The surrounding areas, you might talk about a 20 or 30-minute drive, and you're already in a more reasonable area financially.
Okay,
And the
and then
question was, were you quoting in euros or were you quoting in US?
Oh, euros. Okay. Yeah, I forgot. That's right. There is a. Yeah, I was quoting in euros because
Oh wow, that's
and
so it's even more expensive.
that's right. That's right. You're talking about a 20% to 25%, a 20% increase
Wow.
in
In
or
euros.
50.
400 euros? Oh my goodness.
Hell no. To the no, no, no. Hell to the no.
Go ahead, Patrick. I'm sorry.
that's okay. So in a town like Frankfurt, which I would imagine would attract a lot of wealthy people because of this concentration of finance, you say 20 to 30 minutes out is not so bad. So, for example, let's say again, take your typical 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom. What would that go for?
The same, like I said, between six and a thousand, six
Six
hundred
and a
and a
thousand.
thousand euros,
Oh, okay.
600 and a thousand euros. But that's not too bad because of what I mean. I'm looking at places in the states now, and I'm doing real estate, uh, surveying real estate in the states, and it seems to be pretty. It's gone a little awry.
Yeah, it seems like some of the investment things are similar. Like real estate is similar over there. How difficult is it for the paperwork to do business and to get set up over there if you want to make a living over there?
GmbH or LLC, that's pretty much the same or similar. Um, it is better to do it with a German national.
What was that again?
It is better to set up your business through a German national. I had a friend, his name was Frank Sommer. He was a great artist. He just passed away, actually. But he read the entire German gazettes, the whole, that would be like somebody reading through all of and he read every page of that. And he told me about some things in Germany, like the investment. It's if you do it with a German national, not even someone who just is a German citizen, a German national, then you have a more secure, because it is actually, the German government could actually seize your house and give it to a German national should they want it.
Hell no, to the no, 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 hell to the no.
It's just that, a different culture. But that's what it is. They could actually seize your house. So it's a good investment, because once you buy a piece of property over here, then you're renting out each floor or a room or each as an apartment, and then you're getting like instead of you're paying maybe $800 to $1,000 mortgage monthly, but you have the house taken. If it's a 2-floor house, then you rent the top out for $1,200, rent the bottom out for $1,200. You have $2,400 coming in, and that's basically paying off your house. And that's what a lot of the Germans are doing. So that investment is worth it. Should you do it with a German national, whom you can trust?
All right. Let me get. I lost Jimmy here.
That sounds a little bit risky.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah. So Jimmy, how difficult is that paperwork though? Is it pretty simple process, or is it? It sounds like because that European process can be. So how is that?
The European process, the German process is made to be that way to discourage folks from moving forward, to discourage foreign investment, to discourage that, because they have lawyers who understand those specific points and bulletin points in those contracts, and those people then do their work. But for the most people, especially an Ausland, a foreigner, it's extremely difficult. You either have to have a good lawyer, or you should have been raised in that land.
How difficult is it buying like cars and stuff living over there as a civilian? Is it pretty simple? Or is it difficult in comparison to the United States? What is that like?
You're not allowed to pay over $10,000 cash for your car. The rest has to be financed.
What?
They
Hell no, to the no, 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 hell to the no.
Pretty much.
What?
Yeah.
You have to offend it? That's fleecing. If I get enough money to buy my car cash, I want to buy my car cash. I don't want to pay finance charges.
Of course, you can buy it. You can buy it. But then again, there's the paperwork that is involved in that. And plus, when you buy,
to the no, 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 hell to the no.
Keep that button. Keep your finger on that button. Okay? When you buy your car, you don't even own it. The state owns your car.
What?
I told you.
Hell no,
You got
to
to crank
the
that
no,
up.
no, no, hell to the no.
What do you mean you don't own your car that you bought? What kind of foolishness is that?
It's just a different culture, bro.
Wait a minute. What?
You
What?
don't
What?
own you own your car. You have the privilege of driving it, but it's not owned by you. Even though you bought it, it's
Whoa, whoa,
not
whoa, whoa,
owned.
whoa, whoa! What kind of gibberish is that? Wait a minute. I bought a
And you,
car, I financed a car, but I don't own the car. You know what?
That
Hell
sounds like the lease more
no,
than
to the
ownership.
no, no, no. Hell to the no.
What you got to say to that, Patrick? Am I missing something?
That sounds like a lease more than ownership. So let's just say that you paid cash for this thing, and let's say you pass away and you want to leave it to somebody else, right? I guess it goes back to the government. Am I correct?
absolutely, you can leave it to your person. You can leave it to your person. But then
Hugh
should the
Barrington
government?
said, "Who owns it? If he doesn't own it and he worked for it, Hugh Barrington says, who owns it?"
Yeah, I understand you.
People are
But
upset here. I'm just
these are
kidding.
different cultures. We're talking different
No,
cultures.
no. All jokes aside, I keep cutting you off. Who owns the car? Can you explain that? Is
I
it a
don't know
lease or
German
what?
law well. I don't know German law well enough to explain it, but in the book it says basically it's kind of hidden, like the three-fifths was hidden. It's kind of hidden in that stuff. There's stuff that I don't even want to talk about on here that's written in that
Yeah,
stuff. That
yeah. Fair enough.
yeah, there's
But you don't own the car. You're kind of leasing the car, and you can transfer the lease to someone else. So then, what happens? I mean, how do they can take the car back?
I don't I
All
haven't
right,
gone that
let's leave it
far.
alone. Let's
Yeah,
leave that
that
alone. That
that
But
was
that
see,
sounds that sounds
making
kind
you
of
angry
quirky.
is bringing out the hell no in you.
man. I've been
Hey, me
hitting it
too.
quite a bit during this discussion. What other kind of idiosyncratic little nuances they have in Germany that's a little different than the U.S. that you could think of right off the top?
Oh,
What are some of the other
I can think of them, but
cultural shockers?
I can think of them, but I don't want
Oh, you don't
to.
want to say them? Okay.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
fair.
because
Yeah,
then
that's
then it's
fair
talking
enough. You
about
live there, so fair enough.
Hmm.
the structure now. Now you're talking about the structure of
Yep.
this of a government and a country also the municipalities, and I'm not qualified enough. I know what
Gotcha.
I know, but I'm not qualified enough to speak on it.
Yeah, yeah. You Barrington,
Hell,
I'm with you, Hugh.
hell no, to the no, no, no. Hell to the no.
Got it. Thank you. Yeah, we don't want to get you in trouble in some foreign country. Go ahead, Patrick. Continue, please.
Okay, well, doesn't sound as it sounds as if things can be taken away from you if you're not a citizen there or a national and you don't own your darn car. But yeah, I'm sure that there's some other social safety nets that will offset all of these intrusions into personal property ownership.
Absolutely.
Go,
Uh,
go ahead.
what I would do is not even I don't even consider at this point what I can and cannot own here because that ownership is something that it's Americans through our whatever we've gone through, we've ensured that those have rights and levels of rights and different rights are different in different countries. So we're getting into something
Okay.
institutional.
Let me spin off to something else. What about a retirement system there? How does that work, and what do you know of it? Like, if
They have
someone were to, what do they do for people? Like, people. Let's say if you were to marry a German person, and they retire, what's their system like?
they have a renta system where they pay you a certain amount, a certain percentage of whatever you've paid into that sentence. It's like our social security system. It's called renta, and that renta system is basically when you decide to retire, it gives you so much money per month based on what you made, just like Social Security. This is baby USA. A lot of these systems are similar.
But do they complain about the amount, or do they particularly say, "This is enough for me. I like this system"? What do you hear about the system there without getting yourself in any trouble?
Yeah, it depends on the job you had.
But if you have a
I mean,
decent job, go ahead.
if you had a job making, mid figures, then you're set for life once you went to rent it. But if you were working at McDonald's for your entire life, then your renter is not going to. It's just like in America. You know, if I paid a great deal into the Social Security, then I plan to receive a bigger benefit. Buddy of mine just retired, and he was a fire department, so he's what, 6 to 7 grand, 7.5 grand a month just on
Ooh,
retirement.
nice,
That's very
Just
good.
just
nice.
on just on retirement. And then he's getting ready to retire from the Air Force. I mean, not for the Air Force, but from the working for the airline. And that he's also going to get something from that. So, he's about 11, 12 grand a month for sitting at home.
Well, that sounds like they have a really good retirement system there. What about the laws? Are the laws strict there? Derek Anthony asked earlier about the Autobahn, and I know you can drive unlimited speeds with those signs with the lines through it, the white circle and the lines through it and stuff. What are the laws like in comparison to the U.S. as far as being strict?
Very, I would say they're very strict. They're enforced to a certain degree. But just like there's always exceptions to every rule. So the laws are meted out because there's no crime. I hope I didn't spoil another question, but there's not a lot of crime.
Yeah, yeah, I noticed that. Yeah, I remember you leave equipment in your car and stuff, and people have speed detectors right in the window, and you're like, no problem here. No,
No, because they don't.
they don't
They
break in cars and stuff a lot over there. At least they didn't used to.
But you know why? Because the economy here is fairly decent.
But
You don't have.
the economy is decent here. They're still breaking cars here. They still steal out of cars and stuff there. Germany is crazy because we would come home from one of your shows. I'm there for a weekend. I go to one of your shows. I'm hanging out, having beers and stuff with you. We come back 2, 3 in the morning. You got all of your expensive equipment, speakers, no shades. You could just see there, and you'll leave it all night in your van
Yeah,
on the street.
because people don't need it. A lot of crime comes from a need, and since there's no need, since the social system is basically taken care of, then there's not a whole lot of need for people to steal. Because if you don't have a house, I mean, you don't even have to be homeless here. They would take care of you. So the social system is fairly decent. So there's not really a whole lot. The people do steal. I've had stuff stolen, but it wasn't from Germans. It was from other people from different places. What does he
Yeah.
mean by? But that's not Social Security. The
Yeah,
renter is not Social
Devo's in
Security.
the house. Hey, welcome to the building, Devo. Um, Devo's asking, but that's not Social Security. Devo, if you could hit in the chat some more clarity on that,
He's
then
talking
we'll
about the
certainly.
renter because I don't know. I don't know enough about Social Security to compare it to renter.
Yeah,
All I know,
you've been over there
he's talking
in
about
Europe.
retirement and that his buddy is retirement. He's
Yeah.
right. I was talking about his retirement and not his Social Security. Hey, thanks, Debo, for that.
Okay.
Um,
All
yeah,
right.
he's right. That was his retirement and not Social Security.
All right. So what about crime?
Virtually non-existent. There is some crime, but there.
I noticed that there's a lot of fighting, the nightclub fighting stuff.
And that's the extent of crime.
Yeah,
But
that's the crime. Breaking in cars and breaking in stuff. Go ahead. You live there. Go ahead.
there is not a lot of crime. It depends on it's very, very, I would say 0.001% of the people even consider criminal activity there. The crimes are done on a much higher level. We wouldn't even know the crimes that are being done. Uh, but the street crime, girls can walk around. You've seen it. Girls walk around the street 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning, drunk, very drunk, and dressed revealingly, and nobody even bothers them.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And so you said the laws, they're strict. I want to get back to that. I know the Autobahn seems like it's not strict because you can drive unlimited speed. So can you kind of add a little more color to the strictness, but then on the Autobahn you can drive at unlimited speeds, and also in Germany, the passenger can drink, if I remember correctly, but the drivers cannot. But you can have open containers in the car, and
That's
everybody
right.
can be drinking except the driver. So can you provide some color?
Yeah, because there's something called TUV. They call it TÜV, and that's taking care of your car, and it has to be inspected once every 2 years, so that the vehicle itself is safe enough to drive at the speeds that you're allowed to drive on the autobahn, which is, my normal speed is 100 mile an hour. That's me going from here to there. That's 100 miles an hour, and that's safe. Um, because the roads are banked and they're made for those kinds of speeds. But they don't send out the wagons to or the state troopers to follow you in the car, but they do have blitzes, these cameras that will take your photograph. And if
Oh
you go
yeah.
over a certain speed, then you get points knocked off, and they use a point system for traffic violations. A point system. Once you get below a certain point, you either have to pay a fine or your license gets taken away for a period of time. Drinking and driving, no, no, absolute no, no. That can't happen because you're on the autobahn, and the person next to you might be doing. You've seen them doing 150 down the autobahn, speeding past you. I'm doing 100 mile an hour, and somebody will speed past me like I'm standing still. And so that and alcohol doesn't mix. So they are very, very strict on that.
Okay, but did I remember correctly that you can actually have passengers drinking?
Yeah, sure.
But the
You can have.
driver cannot drink. Because I remember us going out to nightclubs. We'll go from Stuttgart to Mannheim, and we will always have a designated driver that didn't drink a thing. And
That's
everyone
right.
else in the car, the other four passengers, would be getting lit, or the other three.
That's right. But that driver can't drink, and that's why
Yeah,
people
but
have.
in the U.S., you can't have any open container at all in the car.
Oh, that's right. Well, it's just different laws.
Yeah, yeah, there. And plus, on the street, you can walk down the street with a beer, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. The only place I know like that, maybe there's some other places in the U.S. I know Las Vegas. I think you
The
can
Las
walk.
Vegas Strip.
Yeah, on the strip, you can walk with a beer on the Las Vegas Boulevard, the strip.
Not so much anywhere else in Vegas.
Yeah. So, but it's like that in Germany, which is a little different. So, but let's talk drinking and driving. Is it true with drinking and driving in Germany, you can lose your car? They'll just take your car on the first offense, or how does that work? Do you have any?
Depends It depends on the infraction. Did you cause an accident? It depends on the level of drunk that you are. Drinking responsibly, and you have a couple of ounces in you or something like that, and it comes up low, then of course you'll get an infraction. But if you're loaded and you're driving, but it depends because I've ridden with people whom I know were loaded, and they got pulled over, and the guy, I mean, I could smell their voice, breath from where I was sitting, so I know that, and they would just they looked at the pass and then, okay, get home safe. So it depends, Plus, it's a beginning of the month and end of the month thing. It's more they attack more during quota time than they do at the beginning of the month.
What about the laws and strictness around prostitution? Germany is famous for some of that. Um, from service guys being over there and telling stories about prostitution in Germany. So what are the laws like over there for that? Is it against the law there, and is it
No,
controlled?
it's not against the law.
Go ahead.
It's supposed to be there to control the desire for rape. So they in the proper setting, in the proper houses, like in Frankfurt, right across from the um, train station. There's a lot of things going on there. Or you can just go in there and whatever. A Reeperbahn in Hamburg, the whole street is just prostitution, and it's all legal. You can just go up and down the street and visit whomever you want to visit, and for whatever you want to visit them for, and it's legal. Especially like in Germany, Amsterdam, a lot of the different places.
Yeah, yeah. I think that would shock a lot of Americans. And I didn't know why, so I really appreciate you explaining why. The thought behind it is to kind of why go out and don't use that word. Let's use sexual assault. Why
Okay.
would you assault someone? Because that's a banned word on YouTube, by the way. I may have to
Oh,
go
really?
back. Yeah, I may have to go back and bleep that. But
Yeah, please.
some sort of assault. So you don't have to do that if you can go pay for it relatively inexpensively, and that's what they say. They say it's relatively inexpensive. They just have it all set up there. Do they
That's
control
right.
that? Do you know if they control that stuff, test them, and all of that stuff? Or you don't know
I
the
don't have
details?
enough information. What are you trying to ask me, bro?
I'm just trying to bring the authenticity to the Bet Out of That show,
Yeah,
my
but
friend.
I don't know enough about it. I would imagine that they're tested.
You would
Especially
think.
now.
You would think.
I would imagine now, but I don't know where these girls come from. I know there's a lot of uh, Asian East Bloc because where I worked, I used to walk past where a lot of them worked, and I saw a variety of different cultures standing there.
Okay.
And yeah, they didn't. They normally hollered at the people who walked by, but very few hollered at me, and I'm okay with that.
What about there's that whole weed culture and hip hop culture with marijuana and things like that. What about and other drugs? Issues they have in the United States. What's the laws around these drugs over in Germany? Are they strict? And is it a slap on the wrist? America is going more with relaxing the rules on kind of like weed. Is it like that over there? And where are they strict and where are they less strict?
They haven't gotten to that place yet, I don't think, but you're allowed to have it in your home. But I don't think that you're allowed to drive under the influence of weed, depending on how much is in you. And of course, the other drugs, what is it, type one, or level one? Or I forgot what they're called in America. The different levels, one, two, three. Those drugs are not allowed in the system at all. And they're pretty good at enforcing that stuff.
Patrick, you additional questions? I have more. I'm happy to talk to my brother here. So, Patrick,
Um,
if
I may have
oh,
questions further.
okay, I have more here. What items in Germany are scarce in comparison to the United States? So there's some items over in like living in Germany where that you guys do not have that we have over in the United States. I remember once coming over, Jimmy, to on a business trip there to Stuttgart, and I was gonna stay over a few extra days. And you asked me to bring over. You were saying T-shirts, underwear. I think it was you.
Yeah,
And
sure.
they're much cheaper in comparison. What other items like that you could think of?
Deodorant, medicines, because most of the medicines they have here are homeopathic. They use a lot of homeopathic stuff, which takes a longer time, smaller doses over a longer time. They have something here called Medi-Nite, which is a percentage of our NyQuil. I would say 30% as effective as our NyQuil. So little things like that. There are of course, some things that you would, and then those specific things that you are like in the States. Many of them are not here. They have sections in some of the stores where you can go in and they have a section dedicated to American stuff, but it's not what we're used to. Cake mixes, pre-prepared food, things like that, things of that nature. Hair products, hair care products, especially for urban hair care products. There's some stores that handle that, but there's a lot of stuff that you would be just missing.
Yeah, and Miss Jams, we talked about that in earlier about she asked is STDs prevalent in Germany, and we answered that earlier, and we said it's not as prevalent if I remember correctly. Yeah, Mr.
No,
Jimmy.
that's misinformation. That's misinformation.
Yeah.
That may have been someone talking about a certain area, and then they say that's Germany. Just like if we have something in America that has something to do with Texas, only Texas, but then the news comes over to us here. Well, America had this or that, but it was just relegated to Texas.
Yeah. Okay. And which cities would you recommend for a person who is interested in coming to Germany and really getting some good German culture and just kind of fitting in to Germany? Which cities would you recommend?
The cities are metropolitan. They're based on a large city scheme, infrastructure. So German culture will be intermingled into those big cities, but those will contain more of a more broad or more vast cultural base. Different people, like Patrick said before, there's a lot of different people who come from different places to Frankfurt. A lot of Asian people who do finance, and a lot of Americans do that. But then it's the places around those big cities that you'll get the German culture. Like the South, they cook so well in the South, and the Schwarzwald. I know people have heard that Schwarzwald, the Black Forest. They cook so well that you can hardly tell that taste from American Southern cooking. It is that good. They season their food. So that the places like that, you're going to get the German culture, but it's based on also a long German time. The bigger cities will cater to more of, like I said, a cosmopolitan and metropolitan and international clientele. So they'll give you hints of the German culture there. You'll get a small schnitzel, but if you go, like I said, 20 minutes, 30 minutes out, and you go to a restaurant there, then you'll get the right German culture. So you can live in the city, but use your navigation or something to find a place outside of those cities. Berlin, Frankfurt, Hanover, good places. Munich, those are very English-oriented places where you're going to find people who speak English. But you'll not necessarily find the culture, except for Oktoberfest, you'll not necessarily find the German culture in there.
I got a question. Do they ration out some of the commodities there? Like some of the stuff that I guess it was related to what you were talking about earlier. Do they ration out some of that, some of those commodities? I don't think so. I think you just buy them in the store like
Just
normal.
buy them in the store. That's a different.
Yeah, and do you I mean, I guess the question is, are you limited in the amount you can buy? You could just buy as much deodorant as you want and whatever.
Yes,
Yeah, I
yes.
didn't see it if unless I'm misinterpreting.
You didn't misinterpret anything. That
Yeah, and a suggestion that we should always go to the outskirts to get the authentic culture and food.
just like in this, you wouldn't go to Atlanta. Well, you would go to Atlanta, but you know what I mean to
Yeah,
get
yeah,
that.
yeah. I'm,
Yeah,
I'm talking about like Swabish Hall compared to Stuttgart. Yeah, you go to
yeah,
Swabish Hall, you get that German feeling, you know? Or
yeah.
or
Because
um Heidelberg. It's a bigger city, but you still get a little of that
yeah, because
mixture.
it's yeah, right. It's built with that old German flair.
Yeah, I
In
like
the modern city.
Heidelberg. I would recommend Heidelberg for an American that wants to come over to Germany. Old Town Frankfurt has that German flavor. It's geared around tourists, right? But you get that German flavor, and but you get the American convenience. Go ahead, I cut you off.
And another
Sure.
one time I may recommend too is Rottenburg to the south.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, I know Rottenburg.
yep,
Yeah,
yep.
and I thought that was a very quaint German town.
What's your DA asking in the chat? If you look at your screen there, that's a question. I remember you came up and visit me there when I was there for a
In
big
Hamburg.
yeah
Yeah, that's where they had
the
there
big
was
the big interior show that I go to for my company.
yeah, sure,
What are your thoughts on
sure.
Hamburg?
Hamburg is a port city. It combines the Scandinavian culture with German culture. Also, uh, I want to say the Netherlandic culture. It's kind of a melting pot. It's a sailing town, and it's you can see that it's a sailing town because people approach it from that international flavor. It's basically German, but it's international because it was a port of call. That's where people came in with these big, gigantic ships and unloaded this. So it was a great port. And so a lot of different companies from different places in the world established their companies there. And a lot of people from a lot of different places did a lot of things there.
Yeah, and Devo asked, um, what about the black population in Germany? We've been skipping all around that. That's a really good question. What's the black population like in Germany?
It is a mixture of expats, uh,
Military?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Expatriates, ex-military, uh, people from Northern Africa, Southern Africa, from South Africa. We're talking about the Indians from East Indians. They're also brown people. So it's a mixture of brown people who contribute to the society there. But that's not something new. This is in my book, Black Thread. You'll see that a lot of that uh, black people brought a lot of the culture to that country when it was a pretty bad place. Black people came and brought a lot of culture. They brought science, they brought mathematics, they brought reading, they brought writing, and a lot of different things that made this the civilization that it is today. And
Well,
that's what they're doing now. That's what we're doing now.
yeah. How did they treat someone after they discover you're there not as in military, but as a civilian. Is there a different treatment? Is there a racial element that you have to navigate at all? Is there a difference from being a civilian there versus being a military person there? Once they figure out you're there as a civilian.
Unfortunately, as Black people, we have traditionally been forced to have to navigate through in any environment. It doesn't matter where we go. The Whoa, that's a good question. The pauses are for dramatic effect. So I'm pausing.
Oh, that's cool. And if you like the content, like the video, give us a like. If you like what you're hearing, go continue. Subscribe.
It's based on levels. Okay, if I'm a relative nobody, then I get treated the same way as the German relative nobodies. And I don't like using that term. It's just a bad term. But the relative worker, blue collar workers. Then if you're above those, then you're entitled to a different treatment. If you're a star, you're entitled to a different treatment. So I've been on both ends where I go someplace and I'm known to be the star, or I'm with LaBouche, or I'm with this people, and the people treat you like royalty. So then you don't have to pay in to get here. You're treated like, hey, this is my friend Jimmy Love with blah, blah, blah. He's with Big FM, and so it depends on what level you're on.
Yeah, but what about the average guy? Because not everyone is a musician. Not everyone is a person that's on a national radio station for 12 years as a disc jockey. What about Joe Blow that's coming over there and decides, hey, I'm going to marry a German person, and now I'm going to live here as an American, and maybe even as an urban American. And they know I live here as an American civilian versus being here in the military. Is there a difference in treatment if they know you're military or not? Or can they tell, and do they care?
They have a treaty with America, so the soldiers are not allowed to do certain things, and the soldiers are treated with a bit of reverence in terms of not from the local man, but from the authorities. The soldiers are placed on a higher level. This is like I said, it's an environment of levels. So it depends on the level you're on. Of course, you can meet people, and it depends on how you are towards people, and then how they are towards you. I've met people who had seen me as just they thought I was African, and they treated me a certain way.
Do they treat Africans differently?
That is a culture that was conquered by that place. That culture was.
So they treat Africans different than African Americans?
To a certain degree.
Better or less better?
Depends on what level they're on.
Okay, but let's say if they're on the same level.
There's a social structure, and everybody does it. Okay, when an outsider, I keep saying that, when a foreigner comes to Germany, that foreigner, once he's ingratiated into the system, is allowed to get medical benefits. Those medical benefits transcend to their entire family, even their family that lives in another country. That means if I leave Uzbekistan and my grandma is hurt and I'm a citizen and I've reach citizen status here, then I can bring grandma here on my card and get her an operation for free. Okay? A lot of people do it. They do it from Poland, they do it from Hungary, they do it from a lot of different places. But the ones that they uh, keyed on for doing this was the African, because a lot of Africans took advantage of the situation the same way a lot of these other people took advantage of the situation. And so that was publicized, and so people started to take a different view of that person. And it's the propaganda. It's the same propaganda. So that propaganda was garnered against those people, and those people were seen as taking advantage of this situation and that situation, and uh,
Okay.
there became a narrative surrounding those people.
Yeah, I cut you off when you was talking before, but go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that's what it was. It was that narrative. The narrative was created that these people abused the system. So the average German began to look upon those people as different. They couldn't tell when it was the Polish people taking advantage of the situation because they look like them.
Mm.
When it was the Turkish people taking advantage of the situation because they look like them. But then you have a target that looks different from you that you can pick out in a crowd. So then those people suddenly became.
Yeah, but along the lines of once they discover you are a civilian there, and let's take out the African thing. You explain that very well. What about as a civilian there, maybe with an urban background, and they know you're living there and not military? Military sounds like a higher standard.
Yeah, it depends on that person and how well I'm able to communicate with that person,
Okay.
with those. I'm not a destructive person. I don't want to create turmoil. So I'm going to approach people from a sensible point of view. And typically that's the way the conversations are handled. There's some people who get out of line, but I handle that
Yep, yep,
quickly.
yep. I've seen you handle that. Hey, look, there's some on chat. There's chat on the screen. It's a question for you, Jimmy.
The Rhineland. We talked about that before.
Yeah. Hey,
Yeah,
go ahead.
that's actually that's in my book. It's about the Rhineland bastard. He's talking about the Rhineland. I don't know if I can say bastards on here, but the Rhineland bastards um, were the military people who were stationed in France who crossed over the border into the Rhineland, and this Rhineland follows this place where they were. The soldiers started to mix in with the German population, creating German American offspring, African American German offspring. So yeah, there are a lot of people, a lot of mixed people in the Rhineland. That's what they call them, the Rhineland
Oh,
bastards.
look at the question from Devo. He put it on earlier while you were talking, and that flashed it back up.
Yeah, it's exactly what I was just saying.
Yep. So, do
Precisely
they
what
have
I
a
was.
large black population there, or a
They
larger?
did. They did have a large population then, but people don't talk about, that we talk about the who was exterminated during the Second World War, but we don't talk about we don't there's a large population that was exterminated that we don't speak about for
Yeah.
some odd reason. Okay, so let's say it's smaller than it was.
Okay. And yeah, he just posted something else to Devo there about African troops were stationed in Germany at the end of World War One. Yeah. So yeah,
He's right, but he's exactly right. Right there in Rhineland, and here in the South, where the military was.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. Um, I hit um most of just kind of everything here. And if I don't get any additional questions in the chat, I may kind of wrap things up. Food prices. I'm not sure we talked about food prices. I know that question was asked earlier, and I was saving it to this segment. What's the food prices like over there? I think
A little
Europe
bit.
is just different than America. Period.
It is. It's I would say on the average 15% more expensive, depending on what you're buying. It depends on again what you're buying, but a lot of stuff that we get in America, you're just not going to get here. But the beef and stuff like that, I would say 10, 5 to 10% more expensive. Pork, uh, also a little bit more expensive. Bread, just I I spent more money here. I was in Miami last year for 3 months, and I spent more money here than I spent in Miami.
Um, the education system is pretty good. Is that a good place to raise children, you think? And let's talk about, if you were to have children kind of like in a multicultural type of situation. What's the environment like for that if your
You
child
have
were to marry someone over there or decide to live there?
you would have to protect them. Uh, you know what to set up. You know who has good intentions for your children. It's your responsibility to protect them. You have to watch for the bruises that they might get, or listen to them when they say that, because not everyone is an angel. Not everyone has your children's best interest at heart. Learning that the German system is different than the American system. The Germans try to basically pinpoint what the capacity is from a eugenic standpoint, what the capacity is for that child, or what they have the capacity to be
Early.
early. So they set them on that path. If it's a gymnast, they go to physical school. If it's a musician, they go to musical school, and they just attend schools that have that in them. Or if it's an engineer or somebody who has that capability, then they spend their lives working with numbers and working with geometry and trigonometry, and they push them towards that. And they basically create people based on their perceived capacity for learning into those slots that they know are going to be there in the future.
Yeah, that German education system is different from people I talk to and people I know there. It's different. I mean, at an early age, you get, I don't know, position in a particular career. So if you are a late bloomer in the
Mm,
German education system,
you go.
may not fare very well for you. It's a system for the early bloomer. And so some of us who kind of have latent geniuses, latent, aptitude, it may not be the best system for that person. Is that fair?
For me, it's fair. It's fair. I've seen it.
Yeah.
I've seen it, and I've seen people who normally don't have the proper capacity leading major corporations because they were they were supposed to do it from
Yeah.
birth.
Yeah, they
And
show
so,
some sort of early childhood aptitude and then
yes,
position in this path. And you might have had it when you was early, but it really wasn't meant for you as an adult. And so you're kind of geared towards a path the way it was explained to me from people over there that I know.
I've
And
seen it.
yeah, I certainly wouldn't be an engineer if I came up in that system, because I kind of bloom into the mathematics and things like that later. And so you don't have that opportunity over there so easily if you bloom later. It's really an education system to kind of pick which lane you're going to fit into society and go down that lane.
Which I'm sure has its advantages, but I can see the drawbacks too.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So I don't think people understand that. So raising a child in that environment, that would be challenging to me. That would be,
Hell no. To the no,
as an
no,
American,
no. Hell to the no.
because here, man, you can be like failing in grade schools and stuff and everything, and then you can just go to college and become a doctor, an engineer or something. You know, you can go to community college and change it around, and then
Yes.
choose a profession. It's not so easy over in the German education
It
system.
seems like you have more chances here to
Yeah.
Yeah.
like if you mess up early in your life, or if you're undecided, you got more
Super. Can you
choices.
come over some? You over to the side.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it seems like you have more choices. Like you don't have to be, X, Y, and Z just because you show early aptitude in that. You could always change your mind here in America,
That's-
whereas in Germany it seems more rigid.
But I heard that from people I know, in Germany, friends and stuff. I didn't know if it was true or not, if they were just trying to.
Oh no, that's true, bro.
Yeah, I mean, like I would have liked to have been a doctor. I would have liked to have been an engineer, but I had to go to this type of school. I had to go to that type of school. I'm like, huh? How did you choose engineer? It's chosen for you. Like what?
Right.
Like, man, I mean, it's just a different system. So that's something someone needs to consider if they marry someone from a different culture, especially a German culture, or they decide they want to live there and they have an American mindset where, my kid's just goofing off right now, but later, he or she going to turn it around. Oh, no, you won in the German system. That goofing around early is going to have you with a goofing off career. You'll be I don't want to disparage any career, but you're not going to be just what you want to be, particularly.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that is true. Okay. I just wanted to ask about that. Jimmy, we've been on for a long time.
Well, you know how we chop it up.
Yeah. I learned a lot about Europe and Germany and all of that stuff. Just living there, do you recommend that you learn the language if you're going to stay there full time or?
Anywhere, if you're just going to visit a language, and you remember the
But
program.
you can get around Germany pretty good. Everyone speaks English. Mostly everyone. At least that's my perception. Is that not the right perception?
Okay. Imagine this: you go to you hang out in Florida. You go to Miami. Everybody speaks Spanish or Cubanish.
Mm-hmm. I
Almost
speak
everyone.
English too, but what's your point?
Hardly. So the point is, if you were in when I'm in Miami and I go to a store or something, and that person just tries, and I know that they're Cuban descent or they're Hispanic descent, and they just try to speak English, then it ingratiates that person to me, and I see that they're trying, so I can help them. But if I'm just like, no, you gotta speak like I speak. You have to speak. Then I try to speak a little bit of Spanish, and then we find ourselves communicating somehow and transferring information, as opposed to I'll make you understand me by speaking the way that I speak. It didn't matter where I went. When I went to Italy, I learned as many phrases as I could in Italian. When I was in Dubai, I picked up a few Arab phrases. When I was in Istanbul, I spoke a little bit of Turkish. So it doesn't matter where I go. When I go to France, I try to speak speak a little
Yeah,
bit
but
of
I'm just
French.
talking about living there. Just living there. You saying you have to learn though. You recommend.
You don't have to. You don't have to, but it makes it better.
Yeah.
You get treated much, much better because they don't expect for this person, for the German to come out of me.
So explain something to me now, Patrick. And I have to let's see how I can frame this. I know there's been a couple of times, Jimmy, we have been out, you and I,
Yeah.
and just speaking the language German, you speak fluent, and people do not realize you can speak fluent German. And they're saying stuff around us, and they think we're just American guys, and especially being black guys, they assume that we can't speak German, and their assumption is right with me, because I can't speak German. I can barely speak English. And man, you go out, then, so we're sitting there, we're having dinner, we're eating, and then all of a sudden you jump out in an outburst in German and address the table in a very deliberate manner towards the German. Or we're walking down the street and in passing, there will be some German comment and they don't realize you can speak German and you have to set them straight. What is that all about? And how often do you deal with stuff like that?
Um, it's the same way as if you were walking down south and you heard somebody say something that wasn't necessarily right. You would address it. If you heard the N word or the C word or whatever, something that is directed towards us. So when I hear those things, I try to let them know so that they don't do that to the next person. I was walking across the street in Berlin one day with my group. I had a group and I was walking across the street and a guy went all the way. He was at least 2 meters away from me. He walked all the way over to me so that he could hit me with his shoulder. I'm from a big city, so I'm getting ready to turn around and, you know, to handle my business. And the guy who was with me is like, man, let it go. He said, because they won't even see that this guy hit you. All they're going to see is that you're beating his ass. They're not going to see that he hit you in the shoulder and all he has to do is say that he didn't do it. And then there's a level of he said, who do they believe? The point is that they'll see me beating him. So those kinds of things. So I try to discourage that kind of thing and discourage that guy from doing that again by letting them know that, yeah, I speak your language and you're not allowed to say those things about us and to our faces. You're not allowed to do that.
How often do those type of things happen though? Because it feels like to me, almost every other business trip I have over to Germany, we have some sort of incident about every other one. It feels that way to me, Jimmy. Like every other one, we'll be walking down, and I know I'm butchering the corner strasse or whatever you call it. We'll be walking over to that restaurant, that American restaurant I like. We'll be sitting at a table at a
Woody,
restaurant, and it's not every trip, but every other business trip I go over to Germany. And I've been over to Germany a lot,
yeah, I know.
maybe 30, 40 times over the last 20 years for business. And it feels like and it wasn't like that in the beginning. It just
I
seems
know.
like in the last 10 years, there's been more situations where you have jumped out in German and just went, and it's aggressive retort response back, you know? And I don't even see it. It's like I'm there, I have no idea anything, and then we calmly eat and we calmly keep walking, and we don't even talk about it. So, yeah.
But they have to know that they're not allowed to do that.
But how often is that happening now? What's day to day life like that? Does that happen more often Because
If
me
I were,
seeing
if
that
I,
every other trip of late,
if
is
I
that
were,
happening
if
more often than the past? Is the question.
Yes, and the reason is because the music scene has changed, and these kids now are listening to David Guetta as opposed to Snoop Dogg. Do you understand? So when they're listening to us, and it's so that it ingratiates us into their culture. It kind of melds the culture. But now they've gone to dance music, to house music, and all of that stuff, and they have other stars. So this generation doesn't even know about the hip hop generation and the urban music explosion that brought these communities together. All they know is that some of their parents are telling them and their teachers are telling them the same thing that the American teachers are telling their students, basically that that there's a disparage in a disparity in the makeup of this human being and that human being.
Okay. Okay. All right.
It, it's just the difference, bro. They see the difference and they point out the difference, and sometimes they use the wrong words to point out those differences, and you have to let them know that those words are not allowed.
Yeah, Derek Anthony in the chat said, these people who are liquored up, and sometimes you can get all kinds of responses liquored up. I just noticed some of that more. I didn't notice that as much, but in the last 10 years or so, I've just noticed more you having to address people occasionally, and,
Yeah, sure.
it's enlightening. Well, Jimmy, man, it's been a pleasure having you on the Bet Out of Debt show. How can people connect with you if they're over in your neighborhood? They're in Germany. They want to connect with Mr. Jimmi Love. How can they connect with you, my friend?
I'm available for folks who are here. I want to be a liaison. I want to be that guy. Just check me out. You got my the noise. You can send me something on the noise, or you can my email addresses. He put those up there. You can look at some of those and find me. It's very easy to find me. Very
Okay.
easy to find me.
Let me see. I was going to get that back up there, but I think I took it down off the
Oh,
screen
don't
I
worry.
had earlier.
I'll try and put it down in the comments or something like that, and put some contact stuff
I'll
down
throw
there.
it on the screen here. Yes. Right there on the screen. I think I had it there. It's all screwed up. I'm having some issues here. Let's see if we can get your contact. Your contact information is really important. Let me close that and get you on the screen. Yeah, so this is your contact info here. And I can't blow it up any further, but your Facebook, www.facebook.com/Jimmi Love, and you spell the Jimmy with an I, so it's JIMMILOVE. So that's how they
Yes,
reach you on Facebook. And then you have a YouTube channel on
the noise.
www.youtube.com/Jimmy's Love, JIMMIZ, as in zebra,
That's one of them. And
love.
the other one is the noise, which is right here. You can see that in the link right here. And it's got a lot of stuff on it, like my whole quantum living life quantum. It's a whole living life quantum thing on the noise.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you ever coming over to Germany, you should reach out to Jimmy. He's a good, accommodating guy. He's American. He's been over there for a couple of decades, and he's just a good guy. And I know every time I'm over there, I always contact you. And even if I'm not even in town, if I'm further away, like Hamburg or something like that, I even try to get in touch with you. And I had the pleasure of having you even come up and meet me in Hamburg. So just a great guy, just a pleasure to have on the show. What do you have in closing there for us, Jimmy? Any closing thoughts?
Yeah, sure. I came over here expecting something different. I expected what the media portrayals of Germany was. I expected to see the leather hose and the girls in those dundus, those dresses, and expected people to be yodeling. I was amazed when I saw blue jeans and people dressed in Kobe Bryant shirts and things like that. This is a cultural spinoff of America that is influenced by uh, European standards. So they imbibe, they take on the American culture, but they put it into a European standard. So I wouldn't worry about anything. If you're planning to come here, just figure out what the laws are and what has to be done. Then everything else will take care of itself. That's pretty much all I can say. Just be open to learn at least a couple of phrases which will ingratiate you to anyone, even if it's just Dankeschön and, like he said, Dankeschön, Bitteschön. Then they really take to that, and then you show a little bit of respect for their country by doing that. It's like the people who come to America and say, "I don't have to speak English." Then we take that as an insult. So when an American comes to Germany and says, "I don't have to speak German," even though they don't say it, they kind of take it as an insult. So it's better to do that. And that's pretty much what I have to say.
Patrick?
Um, well, it's been an eye-opening conversation about Germany. What I like to say is it's in many ways it's very similar to the United States. In
Yeah.
many ways, it's similar to here. Um, I think in terms of property ownership and things of that nature, it's much better to be here because I mean, if you can't own a car, you can't own a house. That's a bit of a drawback, but the social safety net is really strong from what I was hearing. So depends what you're into. So,
Yeah,
but
and
it
Patrick,
sounds
you never been there. Did you learn a lot about Germany through this? This is the longest.
actually no. I've been there
This is the
once.
longest stream we've ever done.
Yeah, no, I've been to Germany once when I was younger.
Okay.
So I've been to cities like Cologne, Munich, and Rottenburg, and went down the River.
Yeah.
But I haven't been there for a while, so it'd be nice to visit. I mean, I'd be excited to visit and see how the country has changed, and maybe see new parts of the country that I haven't seen.
Yeah, I learned a lot here. I thought I knew a lot about Germany, Jimmy, from going there so much for business, but you really provide a lot of insight on a lot of different aspects of the German culture. If one of my children were to marry a German and wanted to move there, I could actually have them look at this and they could determine if they actually want to live there. Or if one of my children go into the military and decide, hey, I want to stay here. This broadcast provide a lot of color on, the pros and the cons. It may not even the pros and cons, but everything you need to consider in living in a different culture, such as
I really
Germany.
hope so. Hey,
Yeah,
Troy,
it's
you're,
very
hey,
informative.
Patrick,
Go ahead.
I really thank you and Troy, Patrick, for the questions. You guys are great interviewers. You really made me feel comfortable. I relaxed. I was able to just speak my mind, and even if one of the words was not loud on YouTube, I was just able to speak my mind and let it go. And this was one of the first times I've ever even put it into words. So thank you for allowing me that platform. You guys are great.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
And
Thank you very much, Jimmy.
yeah, for sure. And I will say that's the Bet Out of Debt show for today. We call this show the Bet Out of Debt show because when you place a trade, it's called placing a bet. And hopefully it's a winning one to keep you out of debt. And this episode was really about betting on yourself. My
Yes, sir.
friend and brother Jimmi Love, my brother from another mother, bet on himself by going over to Germany, living over in Germany, and being very successful over there. So, again, a great episode. If you like what you heard, if you learned anything, like the video, share the content, subscribe to the channel, and we will see you next Sunday at 8:15 a.m. Pacific time. Thank you very much for allowing us to come into your home, and have a good one.